WBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It is NFL schedule release day.
Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
The NFL's Christmas doubleheader will officially be on Netflix. We also know our European matchups this fall.
Mike Danger.
Gino, am I fully prepared to consume all 32 NFL team schedule release videos? The answer is yes.
Gene Battaglia.
We like the schedule come out because you picture it. Somebody release it to us. Somebody be a hero and leak it.
So a wide receiver move in the middle of May, and Danger is not about it.
NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs.
I've loved my time in Rochester being an Amber.
That's our guy.
That's our guy.
My first dark horse, and he's not really a dark horse, I think he's the favorite, is Rory.
Loser.
What is the big takeaway from Caitlin Clark's first game as a member of the Indiana Fever?
Juan Soto broke a record held by Mickey Mantle yesterday.
The Sports Bar with Ravioli and Battaglia has an unbelievable ring to it.
No.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Happy schedule release day to you as we welcome you on into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. And glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free to download Odyssey app. Your smart device, when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We've got our stream up right now on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
If we got in a time machine, we would have had 50 years. And we look back to where we are now. We all think we were crazy, meaning, like on the sports landscape, just taking it from this, you have the NHL at its best time, the NBA at its best time, golf, basically one of the 4 best weeks of the season in terms of the major playing this week, baseball, and not talking about any of that today. No, we're solely fixated on just the schedule.
Well, the schedule will consume most of our thoughts today, yes. I mean, I do have thoughts on some of the other things that are going on, but I think it's wired in our DNA. I think it's a visceral thing that's wired into our DNA, and it goes back generations and generations and generations. It's the gladiator mentality. It's it's us being the mob that goes into a frenzy over watching these guys go out there and kill themselves every single weekend. And football is the closest thing that I think that we have to that. You're certainly talking about physicality in other sports, but I don't think any other sport has the physicality that football, even a softened football, the way it has become with the rule changes, is still more physical than every other sport, right? So I think that's, for a lot of us, that's what gravitates. That's why we gravitate towards it. It's that spirit, that bloodthirst that we want to see. You know, we want to see, the mob wants to see violence.
I get that. We all agree on that. And you could also say that in terms of the betting enjoyment, now it's all out in the open. It was like this before it was all out in the open. It's
sure.
like it's on a different level. But what is it? Why do we gravitate to this, though? What is it? And some people I know are too cool for school. And maybe the Today Show isn't for you. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter, actually. It does matter whether the Bills are opening against the Patriots or against a much better team. And again, we're not 100% sure, but there are reports now it's either going to be the Patriots or the Cardinals, people are deducing. But what is it in our DNA that we're just attracted to this? Because this is not about physicality. This is just about, hey, I'm looking forward to the fall. I'm looking forward to better days ahead.
It's the anticipation. It's that. It's in life, you kind of keep yourself motivated and happy when you have something to look forward to. And having a clear picture of what that something is makes you want it even more, makes you more enthusiastic for it, makes you more impatient for it. And that's what today does. Today satiates that. Today gives us that clearer picture of what that first Sunday in September will look like in Orchard Park. Who will it be that we're rooting against? How, it gives you an idea of what your holidays are going to look like. What, will the Bills be playing on Christmas? Will they be in Detroit on Thanksgiving. These are the things that we'll learn, and you'll have a better sense of what the rest of the year looks like for you. I'm not saying that we plan our schedules around the NFL, but Sundays are pretty much cannibalized in the fall by the NFL. A lot of us, just give up all of our time to watching Gladiators, to watching. So the schedule release day, I'm excited. It's an exciting day. There's a reason why grown men are spending their day today following breadcrumbs and trying to compile a list just to be the first one to say, I got it right. I got the schedule. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. I got it right. It's exciting. And we'll share what we learned throughout the course of the afternoon with regards to the Bills' schedule, because it was yesterday at this time that we knew, all right, week 2 will be a Thursday night game. It'll be on Prime. They will be in Miami. What else have we learned about the Bills' schedule?
The week before Thanksgiving, apparently, and this would be the one we've all been anticipating. It's not going to be on Monday Night Football. It's not going to be on Sunday Night Football. It's not going to be on Thursday Night Football. It's going to be Sunday at 4:25.
Kansas City.
Chiefs in Buffalo. Yep. That's Jordan Schultz reporting that. So we're going to try to source things today, because the official leaks, meaning, hey, this is actually from the team or this is from the TV network, those are over. Now this is all coming secondarily. Now, the things out of New York, Danger, I think we can kind of say these are actual people that have somehow come up.
You want to believe it, but, this one came out earlier today from Matt O'Leary. He's verified on X. He's a podcaster, host of the Just Jets pod. And he says, according to his source, that this is the Jets' schedule for 2024.
Okay.
And we knew that they opened week 1 in the Bay. They're taking on the Niners for week 1 on Monday Night Football. The Jets will then go week 2 to the Titans. They will host the Patriots week 3 on Thursday Night Football.
Okay, let's stop right there.
Yeah.
They're pumping the tires here for Aaron Rodgers. That's 2-1, right? They should beat the Titans. They should beat the Patriots.
I think they want to load up, because I'm looking at this schedule, and the first 12 weeks of the season, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half of their games are primetime games, and they have a game in London.
Okay, so what are they telling you? Before Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in November, let's make sure we get him on TV.
Correct. So week 3, Patriots on Prime. Week 4, the Broncos come to the Meadowlands. They travel to London week 5 against the Vikings. Bills week 6, Monday Night Football.
In New York.
In the Meadowlands.
Yes.
At New York.
Okay.
Week 6. They also have the Bills coming to Buffalo week 17. So, and they have the Jets finishing the season in Miami week 18. So if you want to make more deductions, you could say the Bills will end their season against New England, knowing that the Jets and the Dolphins will be playing week 18.
Okay, that's interesting. It's also interesting that they're going heavy on the AFC East on Prime, because we already know the Bills and Dolphins week 2, so apparently then back-to-back, all right, let's put the Jets and Patriots there.
Yeah. They also have another Thursday night matchup with the Texans coming to the Meadowlands. They have a Sunday night game with the Colts coming into Jersey, all before their week 12 bye. And there's a Sunday night game in Pittsburgh for the Jets as well, week 7.
Colts and Jets.
Yeah, right. On Sunday Night Football. Yeah, I mean, that's an assumption there in week 11. I think you can flex that out, right? Like, that feels like very flexible.
That does. Yeah, if Aaron Rodgers is not playing, that can be out of there. Here's another report from Schultz, and this has been in other places too. Again, you brought up the possibility, and again, we heard murmurs, but nothing for sure, that the Bills will be playing on Christmas Day. Well, one of the games we know now, we don't know the time though. Steelers hosting the Chiefs on Christmas Day.
Okay.
And again, both these games are on Netflix.
Yeah, that was announced today.
Yeah, and we knew this was going to happen, but this is also, and there's going to be a game exclusively on ESPN Plus, and you're going to see this storyline like it's never been more expensive to be an NFL fan. And that's absolutely true, that you can't afford, unless you're wealthy, like you're going to be buying all these platforms to watch every individual game. But, hey, if it's your team, you can pony up for that one game.
Yeah, sure. There's another report that came out, and we've had him on with us in the past. He's our Seattle guy. Locked On Seahawks host Corbin Smith, who released... He claims that this is the Seahawks schedule.
Wait a second, because the Bills are going to Seattle.
That's right.
So, okay, we'll know the Bills' date.
He has Week 8, Seattle hosting the Bills.
Is that 4 o'clock, or are we going on Prime?
I mean, that would be a 4 o'clock game, I would imagine, West Coast.
1 o'clock West Coast. Yeah.
Right. So that's there. He has pretty much the entire schedule. There's only a few weeks that he doesn't have that have been leaked, but he has the majority of the Seahawks schedule, including the Bills, Week 8 in Seattle.
The other thing we can deduce, too, about who the Bills would open up against, Danger, is that, well, because the Bills go to Miami Week 2 every single year, the team that goes on the road Week 2 on a Thursday night, well, they're going to open them up home at 1 o'clock. And then you do the process of elimination. You're not going to put the Dolphins back-to-back. We know it's not. It can't be the Jets. It can't be the Niners. It can't be the Chiefs. There's a lot of teams you cross off the list. And there's another team we can cross off the list. That would be the Tennessee Titans. Apparently, the Titans are opening up Week 1 in Chicago against Caleb Williams. That's interesting to me. That almost feels like, hey, let's get the Bears off on a right foot, because how many years, and you know this, it was true last year. Like, hey, let's put the Bears against Green Bay. You bought in. I'm like, no. Let's not do that. I'm giving you hope. I'm going to give you license for hope, Danger, that the Bears against the Titans, that feels like let's get the kid off on the right foot here.
It's a game you can win. It's definitely a game you can win. Look, I think that's fine. That's fun. You have to play all the games, all the teams that are on your schedule. I mean, the Bills are going to have some games that look like they're easy games that we should circle as like wins before we see. But who knows? Who knows what can happen? I want to be hopeful, but I also heard Roma Dunze cut minicamp short because of hamstring tightness. So I'm like, oh, here we go. It's already started. It's already begun.
Drink more water there, Rome. So if you're crossing the Titans off the list and you cross all these teams, that means the Bills opener can only be the Patriots or the Cardinals.
Correct.
Do we have a preference there? Do we really care? Me, I would love the Patriots. Come on in. We don't need Kyler Murray putting up points and giving us a little, making it nervous.
Now, there's multiple reports out there saying that the Bills will play in Baltimore Week 4. We don't have that confirmed yet, but there are reports out there. We also have reports that the second Miami game, the game against Miami in Buffalo, will be Week 9. A little slow on.
9 times.
There we go.
And as I mentioned, Week 6 at the Jets. That's a Monday Night Football game.
Wow. We're kind of putting this all together. I can tell you something else here, too, just this coming across. The second Christmas Day game will not involve Buffalo. Jordan Schultz reporting it's going to be the Texans hosting the Ravens.
Okay.
All right, well, that makes sense. They really want teams with national following like the Chiefs, certainly the Steelers.
Those are a couple of big games.
Yeah, those are big games. And, Netflix is going to pay up. They want the primo games. And, hey, Bills fans, if you were all wanted the Bills on Christmas, I'd say you're in the minority. I know there were a lot of people like, hey, can we not do that? But
I also have multiple sources mentioning that the Bills will play the Lions, not on Thanksgiving, but Week 15. They'll be in Detroit.
So the holidays are safe here.
It looks like the Bills will escape Thanksgiving and Christmas Day unscathed, as of right now. Again, nothing official until we get to 8 o'clock tonight. But this is what everybody's kind of putting out there, and there are plenty of credible sources sharing what they know here in advance of tonight's 8 o'clock release. Because, of course, we want to talk about this for the next 2.5 hours here in the Sports Bar. We absolutely will. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 right now, if I'm looking at a tracker, I've got 7 of the 18 weeks accounted for
Oh
the
my
Buffalo
gosh!
Bills.
So by the time we get off at 6 o'clock,
I don't know.
yeah, like
possible.
honestly, like it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
We'll keep you updated. And also, while we're talking NFL schedule, good day to have on our buddy Sal Capaccio covering the Bills for the Buffalo Bills radio network. You hear him on the Extra Point Show, WGR. Sal, a couple of weeks ago, had a conversation with the schedule guy for the NFL, Mike North, and he kind of got this conversation started, giving us a little bit of a taste, saying, hey, look, the NFL's not done with the Buffalo Bills in primetime. You're going to see the Bills in plenty of primetime matchups. So we'll get Sal's first thoughts on what we've heard the schedule will look like. And we'll also, we haven't talked to Sal in a while, we'll get his thoughts on the draft. We'll get his thoughts on some of these moves made by the Buffalo Bills this offseason. Sal Capaccio joins us here in about 10, 15 minutes or so. And you mentioned that major that's happening at Valhalla this weekend, the PGA Championship. Oh,
I know. I'm wearing my PGA.
You are
logo
your Oak Hill logo.
Today, yeah.
Oh well. Well, it's a fun weekend of golf in Valhalla. Brian Koziel, Tee to Green, and WGR will join us. We'll also talk to Brian a little bit about the Sabres' decision to promote Seth Appert to assistant head coach for Lindy Ruff.
That was bittersweet yesterday. In fact, like since Friday night, it's been bittersweet. Like you appreciate what the Amerks did. You can understand how Syracuse got the better of them. And you understand that nothing is forever, and particularly in minor league hockey. And Seth Appert, 4 good years. We had him in Rochester, so what's next? What can we expect?
Yeah, Brian Koziel stopping by the sports bar right around 425. You're welcome to pull up a stool anytime at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We are also on Elon's Twitter, at The Fan Rochester. That's X, at The Fan Rochester.
Yeah, all right. Maybe we can talk one or two things. I love how we can give takes and we can be wrong. I thought the Knicks were dead last night.
I didn't have Knicks by 30 on my bingo card going into last night's action. You know what else I didn't have? I didn't have Caitlin Clark absolutely sucking last night in her WNBA debut.
Well, the garbage time made it look better. She got up to 20 points, I suppose, but
turnovers.
Danger. What kind of defense?
She looked lost.
Yeah,
she looked lost. So there is it. Well, I mean, it's one game. I'm not going to overreact to one game. She was bad. But there's definitely an adjustment that's going to have to happen for her game to look the way we're used to it looking.
I'd like to think we talk a little more sports wagering. Danger, you're really into a FanDuel and everything. But let me just tell you something, okay? And Trista talks about this on her show all the time, BetMGM Tonight. There is so much value to be had. You know what's dumb? What's dumb is that 87% of the tickets for the WNBA MVP are on Caitlin Clark. Like, are you kidding me? Do not pay attention. It's like you just kind of floated in and you never even paid attention to this league, which that's fine. But to see Wilson, who's won it the last 2 years, only getting 6% of the dollars, I mean, there's money to be made because there's people betting on the WNBA that honestly don't have any idea.
The casuals, the public, yeah.
I want Caitlin Clark to do good, yeah.
Well, I was one of those suckers last night, and I thought, Caitlin Clark, I like the over for her assist prop.
Dude, I will back you up on that because I could see the train of thought that, hey, I'm the star, but I need to make sure everybody else is fed, and I want to be a good teammate. Here you go.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to that point. 10 turnovers?
No,
that set the record, by the way, most ever in a debut. So that's, for the league, they have to be like, oh, my gosh.
For her, the good news is nowhere to go but up. That's the good news. Yeah, we'll keep monitoring that I'm not going to bet the WNBA again anytime soon. I'm going to wait a little bit. I'll pick my spots. But I figured last night was a fun night to do it, and I watched a little bit of that game. When I wasn't watching the Bruins keep their season alive.
Someday we're going to have to do Rochester Power rankings on the show, and I don't know how that would look. But I would say this. Like, if we see a little action, she made the team, Deasia Fair, you can make it into the power rankings. Rory McIlroy, you're gone.
Gone. Out.
Good. You're banned.
Out.
Banned.
Dead to us. Divorcing Irondequoit's princess. You don't do that.
You know what's going to happen? He's going to win this week. It's going to feed this narrative. Like, look at that. When he broke up with Wozniacki there. Like,
yeah, he's just better when he doesn't have baggage. He can't handle the continuous negotiation that is marriage. Get out of here with that. You're weak. Soft.
So did you see the timing of the tweet from Brooks Koepka yesterday?
I didn't.
Okay, so this is the story. The story breaks, and I hadn't even heard it. Like yesterday, I go in, Danger's like, I'm done with Rory. And I'm like, what? What? You're kidding. Well, I'm done with him too. No way. You don't do that to our girl. All right, so
that's Irondequoit royalty. You're divorcing. You don't do that.
Within minutes of that announcement, Koepka posts a picture of his wife, who's posed before in a swimsuit, professing his love. And on the surface, it looks, hey, I'm thirsty. But then people are like, the timing of that, within minutes.
Just an assassin.
Yeah.
An absolute killer.
It's great for the sport. If you have guys that are willing to go at one, we love. Can we just admit we love when Koepka and DeChambeau are going at each other?
It's great.
Yeah, so Koepka doing that to Rory, absolutely. Post more pictures of your wife.
They
Brooks.
don't like each other. I mean, they're competitors. They're going to be civil, but they are all looking for an advantage. They're all looking for an edge. And in a game that is as mental as golf is, yeah, get in his head a little bit. Sure. Ask him how his wife is doing if you're part of his threesome this weekend. Yeah. How are things back home? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, he wins last week. He's probably going to golf just fine. We'll ask Koziel. But it's either a massive distraction that's going to hurt him, or it's a major weight off his chest, which will help him. And if you look at how he played last week, I'm willing to bet that it's a major weight off his chest, and he's going to play just fine.
For Tiger Woods, that killed him, right? Killed his career.
Killed him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was never the same after all of that. That
after the golf club in the shoe,
the image was tarnished. Yeah. The game wasn't the same. Everything changed. Everything changed. And this is the thing about professional athletes. I'm not just going to say professional athletes. We want to think we know them. We don't know them. We don't know the lives that they lead. We don't know the lies that they tell themselves and those closest to them just to get by and not have to deal with the baggage. There are people in our region who have made some really, really poor choices with their life, really bad life choices, yet we still hold them in the highest regard. We don't know these people. We don't know them. We only know what they let us know. And what we know about Rory McIlroy is he's divorcing royalty from Irondequoit. You don't do that. You're dead to us. I say. Sal Capaccio, the Extra Points Show on WGR. Buffalo Bills joining us next. We'll talk some Bills schedule release tonight officially at 8 o'clock. We'll discuss some of these morsels, and we'll get to your calls this afternoon as well at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
Rochester Sports Update.
More Bills scheduling nuggets being reported. As we learned today, the Bills will host the Chiefs on Week 11. That's Sunday, November 17th at 4:25. This according to NFL reporter Jordan Schultz. Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins today on what he cares about.
First thing is Christmas and Thanksgiving. I want to know where I'm going to be for Christmas and where I'm going to be for Thanksgiving. Every year, that's the biggest thing.
Sal Capaccio, Bill's sideline reporter, the Extra Point Show on WGR. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar to talk about the schedule. James Wood of the Rochester Red Wings. He's reached base safely in each of the last 20 games. The Wings tonight once again hosting Buffalo. On the Major League scoreboard, the Jays up on the Orioles 2-1 as they go to the ninth. Nationals trailing in Chicago against the White Sox 1-0. Milwaukee is up on Pittsburgh 10-2 in the ninth. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I'm going to go ahead and dub Sal Capaccio the ringleader when it comes to our schedule fervor that we're in right now, because you started this conversation a few weeks back, Sal, as you had your annual conversation with Mike North from the NFL on the It's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast with Matt Beauvais, and you learned some things then that you've been talking about and sharing over the course of the last few weeks, and we're starting to see some of it leak out before we get to tonight's official release. But if you're somebody that values your 1 o'clock games, it sounded like from your conversation with North that the Bills are going to have plenty of primetime action this season.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And he said we are not taking our foot off the gas when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. So what does that mean? That means a lot of prime time, a lot of standalone games, a lot of national window games. And look, the notion of prime time has changed over the years, okay? It is no longer strictly past 7 o'clock. Yes, that is the traditional way we look at prime time, a night game. The NFL, though, Mike North said, that's not how they look at it anymore. Prime time is a Christmas game, a Thanksgiving game, a Saturday game, an international game. The games that are the national big standalone games. And then you have, in another way, not primetime necessarily, but the standalone, or you should say the national window 425 games. So when I put together my mock, I had all that in mind. I only gave the Bills 4 true primetime games. Could they have 5? Of course, but I felt they would get about maybe 4 of those, and then you're going to get a bunch of 425 CBS national window games as well.
Sal Capaccio joining us here in the Sports Bar. And Sal, before we get to the things that we think are verified and things that we're hearing, one thing we absolutely know for sure, the Bills are going down week 2 to Miami. And that's why I think the schedule release is so important. It does matter when you're playing a Miami Dolphin team what time of year. It does matter, hey, this is at night. Or I mean, you lived in South Florida. I mean, is it still going to be a game where the Bills are really going to have to hydrate? And I guess that's part one. And part two of the question, Sal, is like you were actually on the sideline for that game that was on the surface of the sun a couple years ago. What was that like, and how much of a benefit that, well, you're not going to have to deal with this during the daylight?
It's huge. There's no doubt about it, especially early in the season. You're talking a September game, week 2. That's when that happened, right? Or was it week 3? I can't remember. It was week 2 or 3 when it happened a couple years ago, and the Bills went down there and they had the heat exhaustion issue. And look, it's a home field advantage. Just like teams coming to Buffalo in the cold and snow and wind who aren't used to it would be a home field advantage for the Bills. So obviously there's safety concerns that were talked about and all of that. But what I find interesting is that through our talk with Mike over the last couple of years, remember this game was a couple of years ago. We talked about it last year. Then we talked about it again this year, kind of how it's kind of developed since then. And what I found interesting is that, you know, he definitely said, you know, that it is something that the league kind of takes into consideration and thinks about. Teams also kind of complain about things. I'm guessing the Bills said, what are you doing to us? The Dolphins have said, what are you doing to us? The league does like theater. They do like the theater of a Bills team from up north going down in the heat and a Miami team from down south coming up in the snow. But it feels like to me, and I don't know this, it feels like to me they kind of put that all aside this year and said, we're going to have these teams play in more neutral conditions. We're going to put Buffalo down there, but we'll make it a night game. So it's kind of just relative, like 60s or 70 degrees. And then we're going to put Miami up in Buffalo. The reports are that's going to be an earlier season game. And they'll be, I think, week 9 is what I'm looking at, I think, is if I remember right. Yeah, week 9, that's the report. So that's it. You're done. After that, there's no Miami and Buffalo in the snow unless you get it week 9, which is November 3rd, which is possible, and there's no Buffalo in the heat. So I think the league might have kind of compromised like that the way it looks.
On a day like today, Sal, how much stock do you put into the early reports that come out there? What are you looking for in terms of verifying what's real and what's not? Because I got a report out of New York that has basically the entire Jets schedule laid out, and it would have the Bills in primetime in a Monday night game, Week 6 at the Meadowlands, and the Jets coming to Buffalo Week 17. Do you buy into any of the reports that get put out early before tonight's advance at 8?
Yeah, it always depends on who it is. I mean, that's from Matt O'Leary, I believe, who put that out. He's a podcaster, and he's been right on the Jets schedule the last 2 years, so why would we not trust him for a third year in a row, right? I think that you just have to go by the track record of some of these people. And I always say, look, anybody can have any information. We don't know where people get information from. You could know some person in the ticket office has been tipped off, and that person puts it out. That's fine. But you have to have your reliables on who you're going to trust, who you're not going to trust. And for me, the beat reporters are the ones that I trust. If the beat reporters are putting their reputation on the line and saying, this is what I'm hearing, this is what it is, then usually that is the case. If it's just some random account that says, I have the schedule leak, I don't put much stock into it. But sure, I mean, bloggers, podcasters, whoever, Matt O'Leary for the Jets has been right the last 2 years. So I'm guessing he's going to be right again this year when he puts that out.
So if we know that, and we know the 2 Miami games, does it make sense to start the season and end the season with New England, Week 1 in Buffalo, and a trip to Foxborough to wrap it up in January?
So it can only be 2 teams in Buffalo Week 1 now. We're down to the Patriots and the Cardinals, based on everything else we know.
Okay.
Looks like the Titans are spoken for, I believe. I've seen that they're going to be playing Chicago. There you go. Jacksonville and Miami are going to match up. So there's only 2 teams left. That's New England. That's Arizona. There has been a report that New England is actually playing somebody else. I can't remember who that is. Jacksonville, maybe? No, not Jacksonville. Man, I can't think of it now. So that would leave Arizona. So, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to parse through all this. There's been a report about New England playing somebody. I can't remember who that is. So that would leave Arizona. So, yes, is it possible you could bookend the season with the Patriots? Yeah. In fact, in my mock schedule I did with Matt Bove the other night, I had the Bills bookending the season with Week 1 Patriots at home, Week 18, Patriots on the road. And actually, it looks like I've nailed at least 2 or 3 weeks directly straight up right. San Francisco here, Week 13 on Sunday night. I had that. Looks like Bills at Texans Week 5 is coming out, 4/25. I had that. I had the Bills on the road Week 2 on a Thursday night, but wrong division opponent. I had the Jets, not Miami. I'm thinking now that maybe it's going to be massaged to Arizona and not New England Week 1 here at home, but that's not confirmed. Those are the only 2 teams that really could be at this point, though.
Sal, I saw something else. Tell me if it's trustworthy. Bills and 49ers on Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, that's happening as far as I know. Bills and 49ers, Week 13. That is, by the way, Thanksgiving week, but it's not Thanksgiving night, Thanksgiving Day. It's December 1st. It's Sunday after Thanksgiving. Wow. That's Niners at Bills on Sunday Night Football here in Buffalo. So, giddy up. That's what you have there. And as of right now, I think we know 3 primetime games based on the reports and other things. And like you said, Miami, Week 2 in Miami, Thursday night. Yep. Week 6 at the Jets, Monday Night Football. San Francisco at home, Sunday night, Week 13. Now, Joe Buck said they have the Bills twice, so there's 1 game left here. There was a report earlier that's been walked back, but I still think it might be true, guys, and that might be the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 3 on Monday Night Football here in Buffalo.
We also we like our guy Corbin Smith. He's the host of Locked On Seahawks podcast. He has the Bills traveling to Seattle Week 8, so there's another one that you want to pencil in there too as well, Sal. The travel.
I've also seen at Detroit for a 4:25 start on Week 15.
Correct.
A little bit later in the season, and then I think what it's going to shake out to, guys. If this is what it almost has to be, I think, in one way, which is if it is Arizona Week 1 in Buffalo. The Bills won't play the Patriots until Week 16. That'll get them twice in 3 weeks, 16 and 18.
Wow. You're going to figure this all out before 8 o'clock, Sal, aren't you? Sal Capaccio.
I think I am. I'm trying to write an article about it now and trying to put together my thoughts about it because I think that I know where it is. I can adjust it, obviously, later. And then I'll be on WGR a little bit after 8 o'clock. Matt and I are going to do a live podcast tonight, a live streaming show. We'll put it into a podcast after that, a scheduled reaction show that's at 9:30. So, yeah, I got a lot to do before then.
Yeah, Sal Capaccio joining us as, Sal, over the years you've talked to Mike North, and also a big part of this is the bye week. And last year the Bills opted, hey, we don't need to take it necessarily after London. They got it later in the year. Your thoughts on what Sean McDermott and his staff might actually kind of prefer occur here, and do we actually have a few windows here? What are your thoughts where this may actually land?
So it looks like there's only going to be 3 spots where I think it's pretty probable here. Week 7, maybe. That's after the Jets, right? You go to the Jets on a Monday night, and then before you go to Seattle in Week 8. So that's one landing spot. And then maybe Week 10, which is at home against Miami, and then on 9. And then 11 is home against Kansas City. I think the ideal spot, knowing what we know now, I would love a Week 12 bye for the Bills. Week 12 would mean you'd have Kansas City at home on a Sunday night. Then you'd have a bye. I'm sorry, Kansas City home on Sunday afternoon. Then you'd have a bye, and then San Francisco at home on a Sunday night. And that would kind of get your bye right before December to gear up, just like last year, you gear up for that stretch run. I think that would be a really perfect scenario for the bye. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. There's been rumblings about it being possibly Week 7. As of right now, it looks like the Bills are going to be on the road weeks 4, 5, and 6 based on what we know, because we didn't talk about Baltimore.
Yeah, week 4.
That's the other one that I got, actually, looking at earlier. I got weeks 4 and 5 and 13. It looks like correct if this is all right. And if it is true, it is at Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets. And then we'll see where week 6. And then if it is week 7, I can understand after 3 straight road games, a bye wouldn't be the worst thing in the world at week 7.
Is there a bad time for a bye? I mean, when you talk about the guys needing the extra week to recover, the extra week of rest, I mean, I know that you probably gain a little bit of an advantage when you have a competitive situation like you do week 11 and week 13 with the Kansas City and San Francisco, and that week 12 bye would give you time to heal and time to prepare for a good matchup. But at the end of the day, I mean, does it really matter with the bye, or do you think that the players actually prefer early season versus late season?
I think when the schedule comes out, guys, I think that everyone prefers a either middle or later bye. You don't want one too early. I just think that you're ready, you're refreshed, you're in the season. Give it to you right in the middle of the season to break it up nice, or later in the season when your bodies are hurting. Now that said, I think once the season starts, if you're at week 5, I'll say it this way. Wouldn't it have benefited the Bills maybe if they did have that bye after the London game last year, after all the injuries? They could have kind of reset their roster a little bit, taken some time to figure out what they want to do. Like, I do think that as the season goes, you say maybe it would have been better here. So you never know. But I think when the schedule comes out, you either want it right in the middle or later.
So there's one question I have, and I don't know if like everybody would be interested in this, but I know the regular season we have this pattern here. Like, that once every 8 years an NFC team, barring that it's not in the other division, you get my point. The preseason. Like, how is that determined? You just call up the Washington Commanders like, hey, what are you doing there in the 3rd week in August? Because we need an opponent. How do they schedule? Is it like the college basketball coach that needs to pick up a game here?
Well, it's actually funny. I actually asked Mike North this question when we had him on. And he basically said that years ago, teams would just kind of do their own preseason schedule. But with the way that the schedules work now and, just kind of having to place it in different times and certain TV elements, the league still has, some control and wants some control over it. And I'm paraphrasing, if I remember exactly what he said. The league, I think the teams do still have a little bit of say, but the league really kind of puts that together when it's all said and done. But yeah, it used to be kind of like high school football, I think, which is, hey, we have an opening week 2 preseason. Want to play? Sure, let's get together at your place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that. But now I would also tell you, let's remember, part of it is because of the formula. So this year, all of the AFC teams will have 2 home preseason games, 1 away. All the NFC teams will have 2 away preseason games, 1 home, and that's because of the 17th game that gives each team. So every team has 10 games total, right, at home, and 10 games away, because that's how the schedule works now with 17 games. It's 8 and 9, one way or the other, so you make up for it for the difference in the preseason games. So it's just got to be the math, and that's why the NFL kind of has to get involved. Now, what you said about, remember, every 8 years, and I know you know this, but it is funny. It doesn't have to be every 8 years now.
Right.
Because you do have that 17th game. You can play a team like basically every 2 years, because you have this, even the team in, so like, for example, this year, the Bills played the Rams just 2 years ago in LA. They're playing them again this year. That's because 2 years ago they matched up in the, where they finished in the standings for that extra game. And this year it's the actual rotation of the schedule.
Sal, I feel like we haven't talked in a long time, and a lot of the offseason has kind of passed since our last conversation. I have real strong opinions on what the Bills have done this offseason. It's an offseason of transition. It feels like there's a lot of change. I don't know that I agree with all of the decisions. I'm sure there's wisdom behind all of them, but I just wanted to get your kind of stance on where the Bills' offseason is as of right now and how you're feeling about this team given all of the moves that have been made, including what they did in the draft and including what they've done since the draft.
Well, it's been a year of transition, no doubt about it, right? I think we all were kind of bracing for that and knew that would happen. They have some salary cap challenges. They have guys that are aging out. The front office told us that they were going to have to get younger at some positions. We've seen that. They are younger at safety. We know that, Jordan Poyer is now with the Miami Dolphins. Micah Hyde most likely not playing this year. We don't know. I'll see Micah tomorrow, by the way. He's doing a softball game this weekend. I'll be a part of that here in Buffalo, but he hasn't said either way if he wants to play, and even if he does, I don't know what the situation would be at the Bills. So we're not going to count on him playing in Buffalo. They've already made moves at safety, including re-signing Taylor Rapp and then signing Mike Edwards and drafting Cole Bishop early. So I think that's pointing towards that not happening. Wide receiver obviously has been a really, really big changeover. No more Stephon Diggs, no more Gabe Davis. They bring in Curtis Samuel. They draft Keon Coleman. It's a year of transition. Transition doesn't always have to be bad. There are going to be some growing pains probably going through this transition, but you still have Josh Allen. As long as you have Josh Allen, you're going to be fine. You're going to still be in contention to win the AFC East and be one of the better teams in the AFC. Look, guys, Vegas doesn't build all these incredible, amazing casinos because they lose. Vegas still has the Bills as the favorite to win the AFC East, and I think the fifth or sixth best odds to win the Super Bowl. They're still a really good roster, a really good organization with an elite quarterback, and that's always going to help you get through these transitions.
Sal, you know that Bills fans, we all do this. Like, we gravitate to the wide receiver position when it comes time to camp. So if I'm doing the exercise in my head, well, you have Shakir. Curtis Samuel, I think, is on this team. Certainly Keon Coleman. And then you have a lot of guys at the back end. And here's how I'm going to phrase the question, because we know the Bills value special teams, and particularly with these new kickoff rules. Like, of all these guys and that are going to be vying for spots 4, 5, maybe 6, like, which guys do you think would have a little bit of an edge when it comes to special teams?
Well, listen, this is a new year, a new rule that we're entering too, right, which is the kickoff rules. And I think that the teams, and including the Bills, have to figure out how they want to set their roster personnel-wise with the new kickoff rules. And, I don't know if you guys have kind of studied it, but it's pretty wild and radical what's going to be happening with the kickoff. And basically, I think there's going to be a school of thought of we have to really change kind of the personnel we use. Now, it's going to be more of, to me, linebacker types than it is wide receiver types. Now, you already had these kinds of guys on your kickoff team, but it used to be where you need really fast guys to run down, make a tackle, going full speed ahead, and setting the edge. That's not the case anymore. There's going to be really close quarters, and I think you need more tight end and linebacker types that have to get their hands on people early, shed blocks, and go make a tackle. So to me, that means the linebackers, the tight ends, the guys with the bigger bodies are the guys that are going to have a little bit more opportunity. That's why, even though I felt they didn't have to do much at linebacker, they've done a lot at linebacker this offseason, guys. They brought in Nicholas Morrow from the Eagles. Now, they did lose, obviously, Tyrell Dodson. They brought in Nicholas Morrow of the Eagles, who had over 100 tackles 2 years ago with the Bears. They drafted Eddie Ulofosio, here during the draft. They brought in Deion Jones, who has a lot of experience playing with the Atlanta Falcons. And then they just signed local kid Joe Andreessen after a tryout. That's the add-on to Dorian Williams and Balin Spector and your two starters, Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard. That's where I look at, to answer your question, where these special teams guys are going to come from. Now, to go to wide receiver, I don't know. Yes, you're going to count on these guys to play special teams, but it might be more about the return game. Who are your returners? Andy Isabella. Can KJ Hamler return? I think so. I have to go look, but that's a guy with speed, obviously. And then they drafted a corner, and maybe he's the guy that winds up coming up with it, and that's Daquan Hardy. So maybe that takes some of those guys out. But that's, to me, where these guys have to kind of make their mark.
Sal, just because you brought his name up, and I'm so curious to know how it's been going, what do we know about the recovery of Matt Milano? I feel like it'd be a stretch to say he's going to be ready week 1.
Oh, really? No, I don't think so. He suffered a broken leg. He didn't have any torn ligaments or anything like that. And this is not a full-year recovery. He got hurt in October. He broke his leg. Everything I've heard, that he's on schedule to, pretty much. In fact, I think from things that I've heard, like Matt, he's working really hard, and it would be great if he could kind of take part in 100% off season. But the team does want to take it a little bit slowly. I'd be surprised if he wasn't ready for week 1. I'd be surprised if he's not out there in training camp, guys. We're talking about a broken leg here. I mean, what's the normal recovery time for that? He got hurt in October. There were no torn ligaments here, and that's the good news.
Sal, where were you 1 year ago today?
May 15th, 1 year. I was at the Micah Hyde charity softball. No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't. I'm sorry. That was 2 years ago. Because I'll tell you why. Unfortunately, May 14th, obviously the day of the tragic shooting here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I remember the day after that was the Micah Hyde tournament, and I had to be a part of that, and we did a lot for that. Last year, hold on, May 15th last year. I couldn't tell you exactly where I was. Maybe doing OTAs or something like that. I don't know.
You were right here in our studios, buddy. It was PGA Championship week.
Oh,
You were doing the Extra Point show here in the beautiful town of Rochester, Sal. So, yes, that was the time where, hey, we got to step into the spotlight. It was awesome, and, boy, we hope we get another one of those. So, while I kind of look back, I also want to look forward here. Fisher, we're going to get that announcement soon, right, that the Bills are coming back?
Yeah. Yeah, those are going back to Fisher. That'll happen. But I think there still has to be some I's dotted and T's crossed. I think that has to happen. The Bills not only are going through a transition on the field, they're going through a transition off the field, as you guys know. Pete Welly now, who you might know well, he's from Rochester. Pete Welly is now in charge of the Bills and the Sabres. And, I think that, that transition and just kind of getting everything buttoned up when it comes to training camp and all those logistics, to me, that just feels like that's what's happening here. But everything I've been told, they're on track to be back at Fisher. And probably, actually, I think the plan is at least for the next couple of years until the new stadium is built, and then we'll see where things are.
Sal, for those that are just joining us, give us a rundown of what your night looks like here, because we know you're going to be pumping out a ton of content with the schedule being released.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm going to be on WGR with Show Up in the Bulldog coming up at 5 p.m. And we're going to talk, and, we're just going to talk about everything we know, we don't know. Schedule comes out at 8. I'll join Zach Jones at 8:15 on WGR for a schedule reaction. I'll have an article at WGR550.com. And then our first ever live, it's always game day in Buffalo. People can react. They can join us. Matt Bove and I, it's going to be on my YouTube page, Sal Sports YouTube. Just go to YouTube. It's Sal Sports is the YouTube channel is what it's called. And you can watch us live. You can comment on what we're talking about. And even if you can't join us, that'll be turned into a podcast.
Sal, it's a great time of year. Thanks for digging out all these nuggets for us there, and we'll be checking it out tonight.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
You got it, Sal Capaccio. The Extra Point Show on WGR and the Buffalo Bills Radio Network, stopping by the sports bar.
Okay, so here's what we can kind of deduce, and this is nothing official from the Bills, but there are reports that the Patriots are going elsewhere. So the opener sounds like it's going to be Arizona, but we do know Miami on the road week 2.
Yep.
We're hearing Jacksonville Monday Night Football week 3.
Okay.
This is the brutal part. This is the part that people are going to like, that's not fair. At Baltimore, at Houston, at the Jets on Monday Night Football. Things we don't know. We don't know anything about week 7. Week 8, we know, according to our friend Corbin out in Seattle, that's the week the Bills are going to Seattle. That's not a primetime game, but late afternoon it'll feel like it. Not sure in weeks 9 and 10.
9 is Miami.
Gotcha. Okay.
I got you, Gino.
Doing this in real time.
Yep. 10?
Miami.
I don't know. I can't remember.
10 we don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember what Sal said about 10, but we knew that 11
is the Chiefs.
12 is open, and then you have the Niners on 13.
On Sunday Night Football in Buffalo. 14 we don't know, and 15 is at the Lions at 4:25. And we have other reports that Christmas Day, those games are going to be Chiefs and Steelers and Texans and Ravens, because the Bills are playing the Lions week 15. You are not getting the Bills on Thanksgiving or Christmas.
That's right. And what Sal mentioned earlier, as far as New England is concerned, is it's possible you could see New England 2 out of the final 3 weeks of the season, week 16 and week 18.
Or they could put them week 7, but Sal's hearing that might be the bye.
And you've got a game against the Rams somewhere here that's unaccounted for.
And the Titans.
So we're piecing it all together here for you, but we feel fairly confident about some of the reports that have leaked a few of these games. We don't have an official word on week 1, but it sure seems like that's going to be Arizona.
Oh, my gosh. So, there's only 6 dates we're not sure of. We're going to figure this out by the end of the show.
Yeah, we'll have it.
Oh, by the way, anybody who has the schedule and like, hey, we won't tell you where we got it from. Who wants to leak it to us? Yeah.
Ticket broker, you work at a ticket office, you want to share what the NFL has shared with you. Anybody listening in the Bills social media team, come on, we're out of the blast zone.
Yeah, like we're in Rochester. Nobody's going to know.
Well, why don't we just call up Gwelly? I mean, Sal's right. We know Pete. You used to work with him. Let's go.
Gwelly's
Let's get it. Pete, listen.
Pete, look.
We won't out you, man. You're our source. We won't out you.
Pete, I was your board op buddy. Come on, let's get the schedule out there now.
We got some takes on tap next in the sports bar. We'll deviate from NFL schedule talk for a few, as we had a lot of action last night in the NBA and in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll get to some of that. And Gino, I know you've got a couple of takes as well.
Yeah, is Tom Brady covering his tracks, or is he that oblivious? Like I say the word Tom Brady, and it's like the name you evoke some emotion. He's oblivious. I will explain. Also, I think you got to get the lie detector ready because I'm not gonna let up on the James family here. Not so quick here.
Oh, LeBron. LeBron is back at it. Okay. I've got an interesting story to come out of Paris. Oh, yes. Remember, the Summer Olympics will be there this year. We'll have some fun with that. And I'm back on board the bandwagon for this NBA team. And it's not the Knicks. I'll explain. We're coming up with some takes on tap next in the sports bar. Stand by for I'll Drink That. You can also join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
More Buffalo Bills scheduling nuggets being reported. The Bills will host the Chiefs Week 11 at Sunday, November 17th at 4:25. This according to Jordan Schultz. Sal Capaccio, WGR, joined us last hour here in the sports bar, talking about what could be a brutal 3-game stretch.
As of right now, it looks like the Bills are going to be on the road weeks 4, 5, and 6 based on what we know, because we didn't talk about Baltimore.
Yeah, week 4.
Baltimore at week 4, at Houston week 5, at the Jets on Monday Night Football in week 6. No Christmas Day for the Bills. Those games will be the Steelers and Chiefs and Texans and Ravens on Netflix. James Wood of the Rochester Red Wings has reached base safely in each of his last 20. The Wings tonight hosting Buffalo. Yankees tonight taking on the Twins. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It is NFL schedule release day.
The NFL's Christmas doubleheader will officially be on Netflix. We also know our European matchups this fall.
Mike Danger.
Gino, am I fully prepared to consume all 32 NFL team schedule release videos? The answer is yes.
Gene Battaglia.
We like the schedule come out because you picture it. Somebody release it to us. Somebody be a hero and leak it.
So a wide receiver move in the middle of May, and Danger is not about it.
NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs.
I've loved my time in Rochester being an Amherst.
That's our guy.
That's our guy.
My first dark horse, and he's not really a dark horse, I think he's the favorite, is Rory.
Loser. What is the big takeaway from Caitlin Clark's first game as a member of the Indiana Fever?
Juan Soto broke a record held by Mickey Mantle yesterday.
The sports bar with Ravioli and Battaglia has an unbelievable ring to it.
No.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Welcome back into the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia on schedule release day. Can't wait. We're piecing it all together. We'll talk about it throughout the course of the afternoon. We welcome your calls at 866-432-6585, 866-4FAN. And we appreciate you stopping by at 95.7 FM, AM 950, and on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Don't forget about our video stream. You can watch the sports bar, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. And a big thank you to Sal Capaccio for joining us last hour and sharing what he knows about this upcoming Bills schedule release tonight at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, as we can give you the rundown now, I haven't seen, this is the one I'm not 100% sure on, but when you deduce everything, when we started the day, you could say, well, it can only be Arizona or New England coming to Buffalo week 1. And there are other reports out there in New England, so we're going to say it's Arizona week 1.
Okay.
Not 100% sure on that, but all these other ones, yeah, there's verified accounts. We know already knew at Miami on Thursday Night Football week 2. Week 3, it's another primetime game for Buffalo. Jacksonville coming to Buffalo week 3, Monday Night Football. This is the part, Danger, that people are going to say, that's not fair. 3 straight road games. Week 4 at Baltimore. Week 5 at Houston. Week 6 at the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. There's some pieces we still don't know. We're trying to figure out. Week 7, we don't know. But week 8, according to our buddy Corbin Smith out in Seattle, that is going to be the game in Seattle. Buffalo at Seattle, just a normal 4:25 kickoff for us here on the East Coast. Miami doesn't come to the snow unless, well, there's a chance you could get snow, I guess, the first week in November. That'll be the first Sunday in November, Miami at Buffalo. Week 10, don't know about. Week 11, as we mentioned in the update, this is going to be the Bills-Chiefs game in Orchard Park, 4:25. That is going to be on CBS. Week 12, Thanksgiving week, we don't know. But, Danger, what I can tell you is it's not going to be in Detroit. Okay, we'll get to that in a second because on week 13, now we're already into December here, that is going to be the Niners on Sunday Night Football. Physical Niners when it's cold out. Week 14, not sure about. Although somebody tweeted me the Rams. I don't know that yet for sure. At the Lions, week 15, 4:25, 16, 17, and 18, not sure. Again, we still don't know. You have something.
Well, I can tell you that from the Jets schedule that was released, that the Jets will be playing the Bills week 17. We know that early season Monday night game in week 6 is in the Meadowlands, so assume the Jets will be here on week 17. And if the Jets' schedule is to be believed, they're playing Miami week 18, which would mean the Bills will play New England week 18. We just don't know where. Right. So
They couldn't. Well, I guess they could go New England 16 and New England 18.
They absolutely could. You could end the season with New England 2 out of the final 3 games.
Dude, that would be if you got New England, the Jets, New England.
Pretty soft ending to your season.
Yeah, that's sign me up.
Yeah. So there's what we know as far as the schedule release as of now. 8 o'clock tonight, it all becomes official. And as you heard a few minutes ago, don't worry, I'll watch all 32 teams' schedule release videos so you don't have to. And at this time tomorrow, I'll give you my power rankings, my top 5. I mean, I might even go deeper than that, but we'll see.
I like that.
That'll be tomorrow. Who's going to dethrone the Titans? I think the Titans had the best release video last year. Hands down.
I think they get the demerit because that was a TikTok video that my kids loved before.
No.
It was not original.
Oh, so it's not original. Like anything is original. Do you think any of the videos tonight will be... The Bears did a spin on the bear. That's not original.
Don't dump on me. That was like... They ripped it off to the point where they had the Fox music right in it. So like when I saw that, where I'm laughing, I'm like, yeah, that you should have sourced where you actually got that from. So
Source. like these schedule release videos are credible journalism. You have to source where you got your idea from.
Okay, well, if I disagree with you on a point, that doesn't mean.
All right,
it's
well,
funny.
power rankings tomorrow. Rankings tomorrow, and we'll go through them all, and we'll share that tomorrow at this time. It's time for some takes on tap.
Maybe I can say I'm committing sports talk show host malpractice by admitting I haven't watched the roast of Tom Brady. I'll admit it. I'll get around to it, I suppose.
I'll add it to the list.
Brady went on a podcast, though, and says he now regrets doing it for this reason. Quote, I don't like the way it affected my kids. That's the hardest part about it. It's bittersweet aspect when you do something you think is one way, and all of a sudden you realize, I wouldn't do that again that way because it affected actually the people I care the most about in the world. Okay.
Did it affect the kids or did it affect Giselle, which then affected the kids?
Right. Tom, you're such a hero. Father of the year. In fact, like it's a roast. Of course you knew this was going to happen. Of course you knew they were going to go after Giselle, right? But I see you working. Like, Danger, this is what it's really about, right? Because what did the roast do for Netflix? It got a ton of attention.
Yeah,
it's something that it's getting hours. It's getting people. Hey, you know what? Maybe I'll drop Netflix. Yeah, know what? I like that roast. We'll keep it on. It made them money. TV execs on other platforms will see this, going back to your point how there's nothing original, and think, whoa, this is great. We need to do our own roast. Let's get Gronk on the phone. But Tom Brady has just told you, Gentles, for instance, no, I'm not going to be doing any reciprocals on this.
I think they will do just follow the money. I think, didn't he buy into a company that does these roasts now? Isn't that part of why he was roasted? I'm fairly certain he invested in a company that is specializing in roasts. I feel like I read that somewhere as he was retiring and his investments were being made public. And so he can say all he wants that he didn't like it, but if it made him money, he liked it. And there will be more. It won't affect him. It won't involve him, but he might be the guy behind the scenes funding it and making sure that it does make money. And as far as it affecting his, like, I'm not letting my kids watch a roast. Because I know the kind of jokes that are going to happen on a roast. And if you have young, impressionable kids, I mean, maybe teenagers, you have a more adult sense of humor. God knows I was sculpted by some filthy comedians growing up that probably did some more harm than good.
Yes. And you said, actually, it's probably Giselle and everybody else saying, when you get home, I can't believe you went after me. So You put Belichick off limits. You could have put, if you really were concerned about your family, hey, listen, let's keep the ex-wives out of it. And then all of a sudden it's not worth it.
Then there's no roast.
Yeah.
Then there is, because you can't tear apart his play. You can't, it's not the roast of Trent Dilfer. It's the roast of Tom Brady. And you can't rip on a guy who's won all those titles and the GOAT, but you can tear apart his personal life, which is kind of a shambles right now, and it probably isn't any better.
See, the one line from this roast, and then maybe I do have to go back and watch this when talking about Giselle. How is it that she could be with this jiu-jitsu instructor 8 hours a day and still only be a white belt?
I'm sure there's some zingers.
Yeah.
I've added it to the list. We'll get to it when we get to it. All right, Denver. Denver, I'm back on board. Watching the Nuggets shut down Minnesota the last 3 games, neutralizing a player that everyone was so quick to compare to Michael Jordan. I'm convinced that the repeat is happening, Gino. They have the MVP, the 3-time MVP, Jokic, Murray. There's one hell of a 1-2 punch. At this point of the season here, they have something to say. And they have something now, this postseason, that they didn't have last postseason. Adversity. Think about their run last year. It was relatively easy for them to get their title. This season, Minnesota punched them in the mouth, and it was Michael Malone, head coach, who had to remind them, hey, you're the defending champs. Start playing like it. They woke up. They haven't lost since. I think they're going to continue to roll. Plus 260 today on FanDuel. Gino, I'm in.
I can't even remember who they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. I have to look this up here. Like, you want to talk about how easy it was last year. Oh, that was the Lakers.
Right.
They swept them.
The Lakers.
I thought there was an earlier round.
No adversity.
Well, also, too, hey, Minnesota came a little too easy, did it not? Like, you get Phoenix and get out of here, and then, all right, sure, you get 2 games. Now you're up 6-0 here, 6 for 6 in the postseason, and you get punched in the mouth. Look what's happening.
I'll throw this on top of it, and this shifts back east. I don't know if Jalen Brunson is going to win a championship, but Jalen Brunson has the heart of a champion. What he did last night was fantastic. And he's not right. You know that lesser players would take the night off. That guy is a warrior. Love that guy.
If you're a Knick fan, are you okay with losing Game 6 if you knew you could win Game 7 on the Garden floor?
Huh.
I don't think. Yeah, honestly,
put him away.
I'm going to stand by what I said last night, Danger, and that's this: that last night going in, the Knicks could not win the series, but they could certainly lose it. Meaning, if you lose Game 5 and how beat up they are, I don't think they're going back to Indiana and keep extending this to 7. So I'm going to stand by this. That I think Indiana kind of shows up. Maybe King Carlisle will get some of his calls there that he so wants, and this will go back to a Game 7, and then who knows what will happen. I cannot wait for Game 7.
Listen, if you can close the door Game 6 in Indiana, though, get it done. Just move on. Take that extra time because, Boston can turn it on when they want to turn it on. They could close that series out tonight. So, but what Brunson did last night, especially early in that first half, man, knowing he's not 100%, knowing he's not right, he was fantastic.
Danger, can you get out, dust it off here? The Sean McDermott lie. Yep, there it is, the lie detector. Yep. I'm going to read you this quote. Let's see if it goes off. This is from Talking at the Combine. Bronny James, quote, I never thought about playing with my dad. But, of course, he's brought it up a couple of times.
That's probably true.
Wait, a couple of times? Define couple.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
A couple million times.
Never thought about playing with my dad.
It's funny.
Why are you in there?
You talked about the. He's got to say that, right? Like he can't reveal the master plan that everybody thinks is a secret. When we all kind of can connect dots ourselves, we're all adults that have a brain.
There has been never a college player going into the combine that did as little in college as Bronny James did last year at USC.
I saw a clip, and he was in a lineup with a bunch of other prospects at the combine. And you said something yesterday that he's listed as 6'5".
He was listed at 6'4.5" at USC, and it's the combine. They actually measure you 6'1".
That's significant difference.
That's big.
He looked short. My point was against the other prospects that are at the combine, and he was lined up. He looked short. He looked small.
I am going to stand by my take, and it's this, that some team that wants LeBron James will take Bronny in the second round, and LeBron will opt out, and it won't be a GM that really knows what they're doing. It's going to be a GM that gets overruled by an owner that's just looking at dollar signs or infatuated with fame and LeBron or whatever. I'm looking at Phoenix.
Dallas is my team. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be the Lakers.
Could be Dallas from this standpoint that LeBron has gone out of his way to compliment Luka over the years. And you forget, Luka's only 25.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you don't get it done this year, it's like,
Yeah. And then how often does Kyrie not play? And how many games off does LeBron Dallas is the team, I think. Do you remember that the Summer Olympics are in Paris this summer? Just a little reminder here. And in preparation, they've already begun. The dorms at Olympic Village have been equipped with what are being dubbed, Gene, as anti-sex beds. Now, if you're new here, it's been rumored for years that the Olympic Village just ends up being one gigantic athletic orgy. So what makes these beds anti-sex, according to some of these images that I'm seeing, and this is what I'm struggling with, they just look like thin mattress pads on like single bed frames, which, let's face it, that'll do just fine for finely tuned athletes who want to get it on. Hell, think of how we got down back in the day in college and high school, constantly faced with less than optimal conditions. I'm sure the world's greatest athletes won't be deterred by a firmer than normal sleeping surface. Nice try, Paris, but you got to know that it's still happening in Olympic Village with the world's finest athletes all in one place.
Yeah, I have so many questions. First of all, like, of all the countries that do this, France, I thought they'd kind of welcome this kind of behavior. Isn't that what they're known? Heck, your cartoon character, Pepe, got canceled because of his behavior. This would be the one country where this would be acceptable. Second of all, hey, if I saw that, how do you get any sleep? That's kind of...
Did you see what these beds look like?
Yeah, you're not getting...
You look like you're sleeping on a bookcase. It looks like they don't look comfortable. I mean, but that being said, it wouldn't deter somebody if they really wanted to get down. They could still get down. I don't know how much rest you're going to get on that setup. It doesn't look comfortable.
See, that maybe you and I should become TV producers. I have a buddy from college, Mike Matt, became a TV producer. That's the 130 for 30 area. The history behind the Olympic Village.
The salacious details. Yeah.
Yeah, we could sell that. We could get people to talk, and we just go back and we talk about the history of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you connect dots. You see, the world's biggest choke artists that didn't live up to expectation and what really happened and why they really weak knees the night before.
Listen, the KGB in Russia, we would always send somebody in the night before.
Yeah, somebody got roofied the night before. Yeah, there's plenty of dirt that we could dig up, Gino. I like that idea. We're going to shift gears and discuss the PGA Championship, along with some Sabres news of note, mainly former Rochester Americans head coach Seth Thapper being promoted to assistant head coach. Brian Cozio of Tee to Green and WGR stops by the sports bar next for a little conversation, a little preview of the PGA Championship. That's on the way, along with your calls at 866-4326, 866-4FAN.
Fan Rochester Sports Update.
More Bills scheduling nuggets being reported. The Bills will host the Chiefs Week 11. That's Sunday, November 17th, 4:25. This according to Jordan Schultz. Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins on what he cares about.
First thing is Christmas and Thanksgiving. I want to know where I'm going to be for Christmas and where I'm going to be for Thanksgiving. Every year, that's the biggest thing.
Well, Deion, we can tell you we won't be in Buffalo. No Christmas Day for the Bills this year. Those games will be the Steelers and Chiefs, Texans and Ravens, weeks 4, 5, 6. The Bills reportedly playing at Baltimore, at Houston, and then at the Jets on Monday Night Football. James Wood of the Rochester Red Wings has reached base safely in each of the last 20 games. Wings tonight hosting the Buffalo Bisons on the Major League scoreboard. Orioles rally to beat the Jays 3-2. The Yankees tonight hosting the Twins. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, the Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You get caught up in the schedule release. You almost forget. Oh, yeah, this weekend, Golf's second major happens, the PGA Championship. It was a year ago that we were celebrating it here at Oak Hill. Well, it's at Valhalla this year, and we welcome in Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green, to discuss this weekend's field, Brian. And hey, we get those PGA Championship alerts sent to our email, and it's just a reminder of how much fun we were having last year at this time. We miss it, but we can watch from afar and know that we're probably going to see some really good golf with some of the world's best playing really good golf right about now.
Yeah, I feel like I was walking the course last year, like late afternoon at this time on a Wednesday just before the tournament started out at Oak Hill. It was a fantastic week, and I know, in between then and now, we've been waiting to possibly hear if Oak Hill's going to be back in some sense in the PGA Championship rotation, if there was going to be an announcement about a future site. Usually the PGA of America announces a couple of future sites this week of the tournament, and we didn't get that, so we can read into that for what we want to. But, yeah, last year was a great memory, and I know that, golf fans in Western New York will never forget it. But I think we'll still get a big-time event coming to Oak Hill at some point soon. But for now, we'll wait. And as you said, this year, at least on TV, our eyes are going to get to see a great course. Valhalla is very, very beautiful. It's recently had some big-time events, including one of my favorite moments ever with Tiger Woods, when he and Bob May having maybe one of the best duos in major championship, I guess, recent memory here over the last 25 to 30 years.
Brian, as far as this course, who might this actually favor here? A long hitter? So, give us kind of your thoughts on who this lines up for.
So the pictures and the videos that I'm seeing, they look as penalizing as it did last year at Oak Hill. It looks in some sense like a U.S. Open track. So, guys like DeChambeau who hit it a mile, are they in some advantage in the sense that proximity to green still seems to be the number one statistics in terms of whether or not you're making a chance at having a birdie opportunity or not. You also want to look at guys that really are outstanding at hitting greens in regulation, because the rough around the green is definitely going to be penalizing for some golfers this year. So who are great iron players? Well, I would, amongst the top players in the world, I would look at Colin Morikawa, maybe in that category, and of course Scotty Scheffler, who's as good as anybody right now with his tee green game. So I know those two probably I would put near the top of my list. Scheffler seems like a no-brainer, would be on anybody's list, but amongst the big names, maybe DeChambeau, maybe Morikawa, guys like that I feel like are really, really accurate or have the distance off the tee like Bryson does.
Brian, we saw Rory clean up last weekend at the Wells Fargo. We also have some tabloid fodder from Rory, who filed for divorce from Irondequoit royalty. We don't like hearing that. Oh, yeah. What do you think about Rory heading into the tournament this weekend?
Well, it's probably a name that we should be really seriously mentioning, because he's won 2 in a row on the PGA Tour. We know, of course, as you mentioned, he won the Wells Fargo. And then I know officially it wasn't an individual title, but he won the team event with Shane Lowry, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, a couple of weeks ago. Right. So his last 2 appearances
on the PGA Tour were both wins. And I feel like if you were talking about any other big name coming off of 2 wins in a row, it would be getting a little bit more hype. And I'll throw one more onto the pile. The last time the PGA Championship was here at Valhalla in 2014, McIlroy was the champion. So success at the course, you could even pile on and say, hey, that's a check in Rory's box. But the reason I feel like it's still not maybe getting as much attention as it should be based upon those qualifications is because he hasn't won a major in a decade. And, it seems like Rory finds ways to either put himself in round one jail that he just can't get himself out of with poor starts, or just being inaccurate off the tee in some of the times that he's missed the cut. Now, he's been playing great as of late. This off-the-course news about his divorce, who knows what that does. For some people, you could argue, well, maybe it gives him something to focus on. If otherwise, people might say it's a distraction. Obviously, Rory would be the best person to do that answer, but I think people should be giving it a little bit more love in the sense that what he's doing coming in, what he's had with past course success, to me, he should be right near at the top, but he hasn't won a major in a long time, and we know he has had trouble finishing or figuring out a way to get off to a good start. So I can understand why there's skepticism, even though in terms of the betting odds, he's number 2 on the board behind Scheffler.
Yeah, we're talking to Brian Koziel. Brian, so much of us love Tiger there, and we loved in the last major. He made the cut, but to finish last amongst guys that made the cut, it was not the Tiger Woods that we certainly wanted to see. I guess my question is that going to be kind of the new norm moving forward? And we were talking about LeBron and how he's making it pretty known that he wants to play with his son, and his son's showing up at the combine. Do you think that's also part of the equation here for Tiger too? Because I'm just like, if Tiger isn't being Tiger anymore, like, why do this other than maybe someday he wants to be in a tournament and compete with his son?
That could be it, although that's probably still, though, I mean, for Charlie, who's 14 years old, I mean, you've got to figure that's at least 5 to 6 years away, even at best, to where, I mean, these guys aren't going to, he's not going to be playing in a professional event at age 16, 17, 18. I at least think that's, kind of where he's trending at the moment. So could he at some point play in the same tournament in a major as Charlie, if Charlie did get that far? For sure. Because Tiger's going to have basically a lifetime exemption to these tournaments. Even if his points runs out or his ranking runs out, they're going to invite him because of what he's meant for golf. I think you're right. I think right now in a major, the story for Tiger is A, physically, can he get through it? And then B, will he make the cut? And I really don't think we can sit here and have a serious debate at this moment about, like, is he a person that could contend to win? I just don't think his game is at that spot at the moment. Right now, physically, he has so many things that he has to overcome in order to get through a round and feel good about it and then come back the next day. I mean, he says, look, I like where my game is at. He just hasn't been able to do it over 72 holes. And I believe that. I really do. I think there's no reason why Tiger on a day, on one round, couldn't put up a score as good as anybody out there. I just don't know if I have the confidence right now to say that he can do it over 72 holes. I just think that's asking a lot for the small amount of competitive golf and with the physical limitations that he has right now to expect to do that under these really, really difficult conditions. He's not playing a resort course. He's not playing these courses that, are just cupcakes to walk. These are challenging, top-of-the-line golf courses across the world that are hosting majors. They're going to be challenging. They're going to be difficult. So I think for Tiger right now, at least for this calendar year, the thought is if he can make the cut, I think it's a successful tournament for him.
Brian, what about some of the live golfers that we don't get the chance to see every weekend or we don't pay as much attention to now that they are over at live that we know are going to be contenders, including the defending champion in Brooks Koepka? How do you feel their games work out here as we look ahead to Valhalla this weekend? And is there one in particular that you think could rise above all and end up hoisting the biggest trophy in golf?
Yeah, the last time we saw these guys, with the regular PGA Tour players was at Augusta National. And other than DeChambeau, most of the live guys were very disappointing. Jon Rahm struggled to even make the cut. He had to have a strong finish to get to the weekend, was no factor at all. Koepka, very disappointing, even said it himself. He was very, kind of upset of how he played at the Masters this year. And then, DeChambeau was the one that contended. And that's why I still think I would put him there because his game right now seems to be trending in the right direction. Other guys that I feel like I'm kind of surprised that maybe we haven't seen better from. Cam Smith, I shouldn't say had a terrible Masters. He was in the top 20 contending, did get himself on the top 10 board there at some point over the course of the weekend. And we know he's an excellent putter. So that could be something that if he gets hot going there, he could be in contention. But there's really nobody else to me on the live side that, I mean, Dustin Johnson, like it's incredible to say, and this is going to come across to be insulting, but you almost forget about him. Even though he was a machine in these majors of just how he was just so driven and focused, hey, I'm going to play these majors like as any old kind of other tournament that I play in. He didn't let the pressure get to him. He seemed to be fine with if he was in the lead or whoever he was playing with. He handled it so well. He just kind of brushed it off. He has been a non-factor in these majors since he basically went to live. So, that's another name that probably, when we talk about caliber to win a major, his name should be in that list, but I just don't see it happening. Koepka, I could see doing it. This is a guy that seems like he can flip the switch. Of course, he's now won 3 PGA championships, including the one last year at Oak Hill. So could he do it because it's a major? He's kind of done that in the past. So I think he has previous track record that you'd probably want to throw Koepka in that mix. But out of all the live players, if I'm going to just take one name, even though it's not a guy that I'm rooting for, it's DeChambeau.
Brian Koziel, your host of Tee to Green, also the host on the Buffalo Sabres radio network. We'll get his thoughts on Seth Apper going up there in just a little bit. But Brian, Tiger Woods commenting on this merger that is taking a long time. We're coming up on a year since we first learned that this was going to be the plan. Now, in big business, that can take a year, but this feels like we're nowhere close, right? Or maybe we are. So give us your thoughts. Right now, this is not good for the sport. I think we all can kind of agree here. So where are we at here, and do you see anything happening before the end of the calendar year?
It has been painful to get any information about this at all. And you're right. We're coming up on a year. If you remember, it was at the Canadian Open last year when we had this breaking news that the Saudi-backed group, the PIF group, and the PGA Tour maybe going to come together on an agreement for funding and working together. And we all then maybe connected the dots and thought, okay, this is an eventual path for these live player names like Rahm and Koepka and DeChambeau to possibly find themselves back on the PGA Tour regularly. And it has essentially been stuck in the mud. We saw some news this week. Jimmy Dunn, who's a guy that's been on that player board, he resigns. McIlroy's been off the board. Now there's been rumors that maybe he's trying to get back on. He and Tiger have been in the news saying that they're not necessarily having a rift personally, but that they have different visions for what the future of golf looks like. Rory spoke today with his press conference and saying that he doesn't see anything getting done anytime soon, and that the longer this waits, he knows it's worse for golf in general. Ratings across the board for how good they have been over these last handful of years and how golf just exploded through the pandemic with popularity and getting younger people involved. This year, ratings are down. And the tournaments themselves, when you don't have some of these big names, are getting a lot less attention. So I think you said it right. I think Rory said it right. The longer that this goes, the longer that people continue to kind of just spread rumors and, we get thoughts on who's really going to be in charge here. Are the players in charge? Is Jay Monahan in charge? Are the PIF group in charge? The fact that we're getting almost nothing here, to me, is not a good sign.
How much is the non-for-profit status a part of this equation? Because I imagine that that's something that the PGA Tour wants to hold on to for as long as they can. And when they're negotiating all of this is to become a for-profit entity when it's all said and done, if I'm correct on that, right, Brian?
Yeah, I think that was a big piece, is that the players would get an investment. And that was something that I've been reading all the time, that, hey, these players that have been loyal to the PGA Tour, like Rory, like Scotty, like JT and Jordan Spieth, they would somehow have a stake financially in that, essentially kind of like an owner of the PGA Tour, like, an owner of a league. So that piece, to me, maybe is still what is causing a lot of the hang-up is. But I got to imagine there's got to be other hurdles that obviously maybe have hit a snag here, because it shouldn't take a calendar year if ultimately they came to an agreement that they were going to work together, for them to figure out legally how they can make this work. There's got to be some things behind the scenes that are going on here that are causing some issues, because you would think even at the very least that they would be coming out with things talking about how they are in agreement, because them saying that they're in agreement gives everybody hope. It puts everybody in a mood of that, hey, golf's coming together. It's going to be the greater good for everybody. We are going to get it, maybe having all these big names back playing in the same tournament more often. The fact that we've heard nothing, to me, sends that they're not anywhere close. And I guess I'm just...
Oh, I think we lost Brian.
Wow. Well, there's
a surprise.
Yeah, just surprised it, and we lost him. We'll try to get Brian back on the blower there so we can complete our conversation. All right, Gino, I'm less than 100% too. Thought I was going to sneeze live on the radio. I don't want to do that. That's terrible. We'll get Brian Koziel back on the phone.
Wait, the producer, get Brian on the phone there.
All right, if you haven't been able to tell, I'm at less than 100% today, but battling through it. Brian Koziel, go with his time, joining us from the Tee to Green Show and WGR. We'll get him back on to finish his thought here on the lengthy amount of time that it's taken for the LIV Tour and PGA Tour to finally merge. Brian back on with us. Brian, just to complete your thought, we're talking about just the excruciating length of time that it's taken for these two entities to finally merge.
Yeah, just every major, all these big names are asked about it. The PGA of America is asked about it. Augusta National is asked about it. The USGA is going to get asked about it. So I think that this story, the longer it goes on without any certainty at all, is not good for golf, because it's all negative as of this moment. There's nothing positive coming out of this. So to me, if there's some sort of agreement, they've got to come out with the news publicly and say, yes, we have an agreement. Here's what's happening. Here's what's been agreed with so far. Here's what we're working towards. I think giving people the impression right now that it's mass chaos, which is that's all we're hearing with the stories about it, I think it gives players the thought that, hey, the PGA Tour is being run poorly right now, that there's really no good leadership. And all it does is let the LIV guys like Greg Norman and these guys just sit back and say, hey, look, we were coming in to cause a stir because we thought it needed to be, and now we're essentially being effective in the sense that the PGA Tour can't get its act together.
And there's been no deadline, right?
We've got to get this done as soon as possible.
There's been no deadline, Brian, for them to get a deal done, right? I mean, we all know that that's what we need to get a deal done. You need that deadline.
Yeah, I originally, when they said this was going to be done, it was the end of the year, last year when we heard it. Then I heard April. That clearly has passed. So I've heard nothing of a deadline, and you're right. I think at some point they should put one out there, because then at least you're forced to come to an agreement on whatever you have up to that point, and then at least you'll have some good news to share publicly on maybe how there is a new plan going forward of how the best professional golf in the world is going to be played.
Yeah, Brian, who is it? Who are the caretakers of the sport? I guess that's my question, because while this is going on, it's all about money, but you want people to play. You want to grow the game. And I'll give you just kind of a little mini story here in Rochester, is that, well, if you want to grow the game, that's men and women. And 2 decades ago, we really loved the LPGA. And you perhaps have one of the greatest terrors that we've ever had an LPGA player go on, and it feels like nobody's talking about Nelly Korda whatsoever. And I'm just has golf lost ground here when you compare it to, I don't know, soccer? And there's a women's league that's gaining some traction, and certainly the WNBA. We've never talked about the WNBA as much as we're talking about it right now.
We talked about this last week on Tee to Green on how golf has really dropped the ball with Nelly Korda, that she is putting up historical, really, performances right now with the likes of Annika Sorenstam and Nancy Lopez and the best ever. I mean, this past week, she went into the weekend tied for third with a chance to set the record for the most wins ever in a row in the history of ladies golf. And and there's been so little, at least I'm a golf nut. I'm a golf enthusiast. My job on the radio partially is to do golf, and I'm following every reporter and every sort of golf outlet, and like just the buzz around it. It just seemed like it should have been a lot more than it was. Look at what you said happened this year with women's basketball with Caitlin Clark, and Nelly Korda in some sense is doing the same thing. I think it's getting a little more attention than maybe what ladies golf has gotten in the past, but it should be much, much, much higher than my opinion of where it is right now.
But Brian, if I want to inject it, like, this would be the message I would deliver to everybody. If you had people that love the sport, you flick them away like a bug here in Rochester. Like it's out of sight, out of mind now. Here, at least on our show, the LPGA.
Yeah, and what a great event that was there all these times. But what does this all go back to? It all comes back to the almighty dollar, and it's kind of sad to talk about that. But welcome to sports in 2024, right? Like, why are people today spending their entire day trying to figure out, well, the NFL schedule, because they're trying to figure out, well, who's going to get the Netflix games and who's going to play in London? And all this comes back to the NFL cashing in as much as they possibly can on making their schedule, find themselves playing all over the world on all sorts of different media outlets to make the almighty dollar. And golf itself, we're talking about LIV and the PGA Tour, it all still comes back to the dollar. And, are players being too greedy? Are the entities being too greedy? In the end, who gets cheated out? The fans do, for sure. And, for Rochester that had that LPGA event forever and treated it so well when the LPGA was barely getting any love from anybody anywhere across the country, shame on them that they should. I mean, it should be a regular tour stop for sure, in my opinion, back in Rochester. But we know, we've talked about the same reasons maybe why majors aren't coming back to Rochester on a more regular basis, that there's corporate things happening, and there's other events that go with it, and it's all about big time money. And that's why they've messed up this thing with Corda. That's why, to me, the LPGA should, if you had an event in Rochester every year, a regular tour stop like they do elsewhere across the country, it would be extremely well attended. Even if it wasn't a major, it would be as well attended as any major would be, just because of the commitment and the passion that people have in this area for golf. So you're right on that. Locally, they've dropped the ball. They aren't embracing their golf like, heavy markets. They're chasing the almighty buck right now, and that's a big reason why golf is in the state that it is right now. I think there's a lot of great that's happening with it, but there's also some bad things, and I think you could probably tie 99% of it down to money.
Brian, despite the outcome on Friday night, Gino and I had a great time talking to some familiar faces that you deal with during the Sabres season. We had Dunleavy on with us. We had Paul Hamilton on with us, and we were all speculating what Friday night could have looked like had the Amerks advanced beyond Syracuse. And one thing that did come up was the future of Seth Appert. Well, it turns out the future of Seth Appert is in Buffalo. He is the new assistant head coach for Lindy Ruff. Given what you know about Lindy, what you know about the Sabres organization, how good of a move is this for the Buffalo Sabres to pluck Appert from Rochester and place him in this position working with the power play moving forward?
I think it's good in many ways. You mentioned the power play. It was a disaster last year. To have him kind of now be the leader in that sense, at least on the ice for the Sabres immediately, that should be a big improvement. It was, I think, maybe the biggest reason, if all, on the ice why the Sabres last year were not as good as the team before. A top 5 power play team for most of the year 2 years ago, and then last year a bottom 10 power play team for most of the season. I think, you flip just a couple of goals here or there, and again, we could be talking about a team that maybe makes the postseason instead of missing it. Tage Thompson's performance on the power play this year in terms of his goal production, way, way down, double digits down. And Seth Appert hopefully will have a plan, and I would assume based upon how good the Rochester power play was this year that maybe he can come in and do that. Now, for Appert himself, I think it was smart for the Sabres because he has been a very, very successful AHL coach. NHL teams, when they start to pluck at who's going to be the next set of younger coaches coming in, they could look to the AHL first. I'm sure Appert's name was being discussed amongst other teams. So to grab him before some of these other staffs start to put their staff together, I think was smart. And for Appert himself, I'm sure if he has a goal of being an NHL coach, there's 2 ways to get there. You're either, you have your long-term success at the AHL level, or you get yourself behind an NHL bench as an assistant and get yourself kind of known that way. I think with Lindy's age and only a 2-year contract, it could set up really nicely that Seth Appert could essentially become the heir apparent whenever Lindy decides to either hang it up or if he's let go or however Lindy's time ends as the head coach behind the bench. Obviously, I would think that Appert's chances of maybe taking over for Lindy at some point would be definitely strengthened if the Sabres have success. I mean, if Lindy is fired, then the whole staff could maybe go with it, and so could the GM too, and Kevin Adams. But if Lindy has success and he comes to the end of his 2-year contract and he says, you know what, this is all I wanted to do, this is what Kevin Adams asked me to do at the age that I'm at, I'm ready to retire, well, that could set up perfectly for Seth Appert to have a couple of years behind an NHL bench, get that experience. And then, beyond the fact, too, he has a relationship with a lot of these players. So in that sense, too, I think it's helpful. So I think for Appert, it's a win. For the Sabres to not let him get lost elsewhere in another organization, it's a win. And for just the team itself, logistically, that power play, I don't think could get any worse. So I'm hoping that Appert will do what he did with the Amerks and improve that area.
Brian Koziel, your host at Tee to Green, also the Sabres Radio Network. Brian, Tee to Green, what time this week? Where are you guys at?
We are at Niagara Frontier Golf Club in Youngstown, right along Lake Ontario and right on Route 18. And we're going to be there 2 hours this week from 7 to 9 a.m. We've got a couple of nice guests lined up, including former Bill, of course, now color commentator Eric Wood, who is a member at Valhalla. So Eric's going to give us a little breakdown on what he thinks the first 2 days are going to be looking like. But 7 to 9 Saturday, WGR, and, of course, the Odyssey app.
Love it, Brian. Appreciate the time, as always. Enjoy the golf this weekend. Let's talk again soon.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brian. There's Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green. You can hear it in the free-to-download Odyssey app and on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR, in Buffalo. We got to take a break. Happy hour is next.
Let me just pass this along, schedule nugget here for my friend Mike Danger. You were very close to this one. Week 2, Sunday Night Football, Chicago at Houston.
Week 2?
This according to 610 Sports in Houston.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't week 1. I said week 1 possibly.
Week 2.
Week 2 makes a lot of sense.
They want
love a story.
They want to give Caleb Williams a W, have him play Tennessee at home week 1, and now get him to prime time in week 2, like where everybody like, okay, let's check this kid out here.
And the narrative will be, Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud, how it all happened and how these two franchises are like. Who's Houston got week 1? Do we know who Houston has week 1?
They're at the Colts.
So they could go. You could have two teams going in 1-0 with a lot of optimism.
Houston's got a kind of soft schedule to open up. In fact, I think Houston's got a good shot of being 4-0 when they face the Bills. At Indy, home against the Bears, at Minnesota, at Jacksonville. And then the week 5 game, Buffalo at Houston.
Okay. We'll continue to discuss some of these schedule nuggets that have been dropped throughout the course of the afternoon in advance of the official schedule release tonight at 8 o'clock. Other NFL news to get to as well. We have time for your calls at 866-4326. Don't forget about last call before 6 and a round of shots. All on the way on the Fan Rochester. So the NBA playoffs have tipped off, but it's not too late for you to get in on the action with FanDuel. I'm Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to use on same-game parlays, live bets, championship futures, and so much more. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sports book. Just go to FanDuel.com/Mike to get started. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. HD2 Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
NFL schedule comes out tonight, 8 o'clock, but we're piecing things together. The Bills will host the Chiefs Week 11. That's Sunday, November 17th at 4:25. Sal Capaccio from WGR joined us earlier today talking about what he's hearing, a brutal 3 games part of the schedule.
As of right now, it looks like the Bills are going to be on the road weeks 4, 5, and 6 based on what we know, because we didn't talk about Baltimore.
Yeah, week 4.
Baltimore week 4, at Houston week 5, and then at the Jets on Monday Night Football on week 6. No Christmas Day for the Buffalo Bills. Those games on Netflix will be Steelers Chiefs and Texans Ravens. James Wood of the Rochester Red Wings, he's hot. He's reached base safely in each of his last 20. Wings tonight hosting Buffalo. The Yankees on Amazon Prime tonight. They're taking on the Twins. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It is NFL schedule release day.
Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
The NFL's Christmas doubleheader will officially be on Netflix. We also know our European matchups this fall.
Mike Danger.
Gino, am I fully prepared to consume all 32 NFL team schedule release videos? The answer is yes.
Gene Battaglia.
We like the schedule to come out because you picture it. Somebody release it to us. Somebody be a hero and leak it.
So a wide receiver move in the middle of May, and Danger is not about it.
NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs.
I've loved my time in Rochester being an Amber.
That's our guy.
That's our guy.
My first dark horse, and he's not really a dark horse, I think he's the favorite, is Rory.
Loser. What is the big takeaway from Caitlin Clark's first game as a member of the Indiana Fever?
Juan Soto broke a record held by Mickey Mantle yesterday.
The Sports Bar with Ravioli and Battaglia has an unbelievable ring to it.
No.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
I feel bad, Gino. I was laughing earlier because you are not as big a fan of the Titans 23 schedule release video as I am, because it's not an original idea.
Right.
You're right. It's something that was on TikTok between his son and his dad. His dad didn't know, or a guy and his girlfriend. Girlfriend didn't know.
We just like, you like it, I didn't. I was like, that's fine. That's cool.
I'm enlisting the services of my daughters for my task tonight. We are going to watch all 32 videos, all schedule release videos. And if anybody knows if there's a trend or something is being unoriginal or stolen, it will be them. They will share me, and we'll give the comprehensive ranking, the power rankings tomorrow.
I think you should get, like, if you're kind of evaluating everything, you want something like originality counts. Though, in that sense, if the Chargers go back to hey, here's the anime again, and it's great for people that are into anime, but for the rest of us, I mean, usually they do a good job trying to make it.
I am not cool. I can't spot cool. My kids can. My kids are cool. They'll see it. They'll call it. They'll be a part of the evaluation process. So we'll have that tomorrow as we get more and more information here before the 8 o'clock official release of the NFL schedule. I can tell you that there's a report online now with the official Week 1 NFL slate. I can tell you, according to this source, that the Rams will be in Detroit for Sunday Night Football Week 1. That was a hole that we hadn't yet filled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that the Bills will host the Cardinals.
Okay, so here's what we pieced together. We've got a shot of figuring this out before 6 o'clock. And again, do you remember when they used to do this in the day, like for the Olympics? If you don't want to know the results, please turn away. Well, we're going to tell you what we know here. So I don't know who would be like, no, don't tell me. I want to wait until 8 o'clock tonight. No.
Yes, I want to spend my time tonight watching them drag out a schedule release over the course of hours.
Okay, so it is Arizona, 1 o'clock. Bring in Kyle Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes, I have my flair. I'm wearing my pieces of flair here. I was wondering if you like ranch or blue cheese with your wings here at TGI Fridays. It's me, Kyle Murray.
Kyle, you're in Buffalo. You know the answer to that question.
I know, but I like ranch with my wings. So I would like, to know if you would like ranch as well. I'm Kyle Murray. I'm your server here at Fridays. Thank you.
We knew the Bills were going to Miami week 2 on Thursday night, and then there's another primetime game week 3, Jacksonville. So remember how Joe Buck said, hey, there's going to be 2 Monday night games featuring the Bills. That's one. We'll get to the other one here in a second. This is the part that people are going to be bitching about, Danger. At Baltimore week 4, at Houston week 5, Monday Night Football at the Jets week 6. That's tough. 3 back-to-back. Sidebar on the Jets, Warren Sharp pointing out the Jets are the first team in NFL history to have 6 primetime games in the first 11 weeks of the season.
Yeah, more than half of their games. I think their bye is week 12.
Yeah, like before Aaron Rodgers turns to sawdust.
Right. There's not going to be much left of Aaron Rodgers if he makes it through that stretch, but they're in prime time, and the NFL wants to capitalize on as much of that as they can get.
Okay, so we got a hole here. We don't know what's going on week 7. Somebody does point it out. Week 8 at Seattle. That is confirmed by Buddy Corbin out in Seattle, the Locked On Seahawks podcast hosts. Week 9, Miami, various sources have confirmed this. So the Dolphins game in Miami, South Florida, that's week 2. They come up here first Sunday in the month of November. Week 10, we don't know about. We got to fill that one in. Week 11, Jordan Schultz the first to report, the Chiefs. That's the CBS Prime game. That is 4:25 on a Sunday. That'll be November 17th. Week 12, not so sure about Thanksgiving, but it's not going to be the Lions. Not the Lions. We already see the primetime games, so the Bills are not playing on Thanksgiving, but we don't know what we're doing that week. We know the first week in December, San Francisco, Sunday Night Football coming to Buffalo. That's week 13. Week 14, not so sure. Week 15, at Detroit, again, in the Sunday prime window of 4:25. Week 16, not sure. Week 17, that's when the Jets come to Buffalo. And then week 18, well, you always finish with a divisional opponent, so, right, it has to be the Patriots.
We know it's the Patriots. Yeah, we don't know if it's there or here, but we know that the entire Jets schedule was reported earlier. They're finishing their season with Miami. So if the Jets finish with Miami, the Bills will finish with New England. You mentioned Thanksgiving. It'll be the Dolphins and the Packers Thanksgiving primetime.
Oh, up in Green Bay.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that gets a little cold for Miami.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. It snows in Alabama.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You can't put that on Tua. He knows how to play in weather. The Cowboys will host the Giants. I don't know if this is out there yet. I have a feeling it's going to be Bears-Lions on Thanksgiving.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, for the early game. We found out the international games earlier.
Like last year, they gave us Chiefs-Dolphins. What are they giving us? Yeah, what are they giving us this year?
All right, so here's what we have in London. Vikings will host in London the Jets. That's October 6th, Hotspur Stadium. The Bears will host the Jags, also at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That's the following weekend, October 13th. Then the Jags stay over in London. They do, again, like what they did last year, stay for a consecutive week. They'll play a home game, quote-unquote home game, at Wembley against the Pats on October 20th. And then you have to wait until November 10th for the Germany game. The Panthers will be the home team against the Giants November 10th.
Okay, a couple interesting things on that. One, I always thought, unless your name was Jacksonville, you didn't go back-to-back overseas. They're making the Patriots, who last year were also in Germany facing the Colts. So the Patriots are going overseas. And, well, if they're paying attention, don't do what the Bills did. Like, remember, our sleep science says do this, do that, do that. Yeah, they were sleepwalking. So, like, if you're New England, get on the plane as soon as you can.
Speaking of the Jags, quickly, side note, not schedule related, but it does pertain to their future in Jacksonville. They agreed to a $1.4 billion stadium deal $1.4 billion is that magic number to get a deal done, isn't it?
Yeah, so this isn't new stadium, right? It's just they're going to keep the bones of the other one, right?
They're going to do the translucent roof. I think they are going to build it on the bones of this one, on the skeleton of this stadium. Each side between Jacksonville and the city will contribute $625 million to the $1.25 billion project. Jacksonville won't levy any new taxes to pay for the rebuild. They've committed to another $150 million to get the stadium ready for construction in 2026. Construction would begin after the 2025 season. The Jags would play in a smaller capacity stadium in 2026. They would play their home games in either Gainesville or Orlando in 2027.
Oh, gosh.
This is a 30-year lease. Again, sound familiar? And the Jags would play all preseason and postseason games in Jacksonville with one home game played annually in London. One home game, likely at Wembley Stadium since Shad Khan owns Wembley. So the Jags could play one additional home game overseas every 4 years, but it's only if the NFL dictates, and only during the seasons in which the Jags have that extra home game, the 9th home game.
9 times.
So the Jags have a little bit of stability in their future in Jacksonville.
Wow, I didn't think we'd be still seeing the days where you have NFL team playing in College Stadium. They're playing in Gainesville. That would be kind of cool, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll have more capacity at this stadium for your Florida, Georgia games. And, like any new build, new construction, it'll house many different major events aside from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I've never been to Jacksonville, but I heard that that is nowhere close to any. Jacksonville is just a massive place. Think of how Monroe County is.
Very spread out.
Yeah, spread out, yeah.
I drive through it every time we drive down to Florida. And it is very spread out. It is downtown seems nice. You're not far from the beach, but yeah, it's very wide. It's just sprawling. It is very spread out.
How did they get a team?
How did they get a Super Bowl?
Yeah, how in the world? That would be like Rochester getting an NBA team. Okay, great. Yeah. Great. I'm glad you have it.
Well, that's their stadium deal. So, but yes, they'll have the back-to-back weeks in England again this season. The Jags will first be they'll be the road team against the Bears at Tottenham Hotspur, and then they'll host the Patriots October 20th. Other Week 1 games? Were there other Week 1 games that? Yeah, how about, let me see, which ones? You've got an AFC West matchup, the Raiders and Chargers. We knew about the Cowboys and Browns. If you're just joining us, Sunday night, Week 1, Rams, Lions, rematch of the playoff game from last season.
Miami opens up at home against Jacksonville,
where the temperature will be 177 degrees.
Those nice long locks of Trevor Lawrence, buddy. That's not good on a hot day.
If you're a Giants fan, you're hosting the Vikings Week 1.
New England, how we know that it's Arizona, it's New England is going to be taking on Cincinnati.
Correct. The Russ Wilson era in Pittsburgh begins as the Steelers travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And I saw another report that has Pittsburgh going to Denver Week 2. Russell Wilson returns to Denver early in the season, Week 2, for that matchup against the Broncos. The Broncos who will travel to Seattle for Week 1 and take on the Seahawks.
Can I be the first to bring this up, Danger? Because tomorrow, and I'll drink to that. It's never too early to look at Week 1 lines and talk about Week 1 Survivor.
Sure.
I mean, Arizona's not coming to Buffalo and winning. Will that be our best bet?
You're ready for Survivor, aren't you?
Aren't you?
Yeah. I am, but I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait. The long off season still.
Okay, San Francisco at home against Aaron Rodgers. That's tempting too.
I don't know about San Francisco's defense. A little leadership change there. We'll see. I'm just scanning over. Who sent us this? John, one of our regulars on Elon's Twitter. That's X at the Fan Rochester.
Did he make this up himself?
No, he's got the graph, the pretty graph with all of the games that we know. We have the Rams there, sandwiched between the Niners and Detroit.
This is like election night. Are we ready to call that one? The Rams in Week 14 in
I think
LA?
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
At LA, and thank you, Tony, for also writing that in. We're going to go Week 14, Bills at Rams. We're calling it.
There you go. If you're planning on road tripping, make your plans now.
It's the second week in December. That's a good time to get out of town, right?
Great time to get out of town. Go to LA for a weekend. December in LA, nice.
I can see Danger already like, well,
plotting and scheming.
Yeah, I already see it.
Yeah. The wheels are turning. The wheels are turning. So there you go. There's what we know about the schedule that is yet to be officially released. We will get the official release coming up here at 8 o'clock tonight. Oh, and Christmas Day, the games for Christmas Day are going to be on Netflix. We should point that out as well.
Yeah, just like not that. I think pretty much everybody has Netflix, right?
Well, I'll say this. I think everybody has access to Netflix. We've all been sharing my buddy Biggie's password for the last 15 years. So if you know, then you know, and you're probably in. A lot is going to be made of all of the different streaming services and services you need to purchase in order to watch every NFL game. And I'm just going to put this out there. I mean, you and I host a sports talk show. This is a part of our livelihood. I don't feel like I need to watch every NFL game.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to miss a couple. There's going to be some that I'm not going to be fully aware of.
There's going to be some zinger, like for the Bills, let's take, for example. Like, wait a second, this is on Peacock?
I'll watch every Bills game.
Every Bills game I watch.
Yes. But I'm not going to worry.
If the Bears all of a sudden show some life and you start buying in, it's all about your fandom, Danger. That's what this comes down to.
Again, my teams, yeah, I won't miss games from my teams. But what would you say the Christmas Day games were? They're good games.
Yeah, the Steelers and the Chiefs.
Yep.
And the Texans and the Ravens.
If I miss one of those two games on Christmas Day, I'll be all right.
You normally miss some time on Thanksgiving Day, too.
Right.
I mean,
We'll
you should be like family first, okay?
You don't have to watch every NFL game. Just a theory. Just throwing that out there.
All right. Will you think less of me if I'm changing one of my sports opinions?
Oh, you haven't.
I mean, we're not supposed to do that, right? We're supposed to dig into it.
You're moving the goalposts.
I'm not moving the goalposts. Just like you see how everybody kind of got comfortable. Like, well, I got Peacock. Oh, there's a lot of other things there. Well, I'm going to get ESPN Plus. I don't know which game that's going to be, but that's going to be one of these games exclusively.
Yep.
People are going to flip out. The Yankee game tonight. We will have in our lifetime a Super Bowl on one of these paid platforms, if not pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
I was always digging in, Danger, thinking, no, the NFL doesn't want to piss off Congress and the FCC. You have to make this free and available for everyone because if you live in a major metro, that's fine. But as I've learned here, that not everywhere has Wi-Fi capabilities and those sort of things. But no, if we're making money, record money.
I've been saying this for years. It's a matter of time. Get ready for it.
It's closer than we think.
For sure. For sure. Just like the idea that they could have an international division at some point as well. If they wanted to expand, they could have an international division. I know it'd be a lot of logistics. It'd be a hard thing to pull off. They could pull it off.
What makes me think that could be possible is how Shad Khan kind of backed off of Wembley and everything. Like, wait a second, you're having two games, you're going to go down to one? What's bigger, London or Jacksonville? Oh, who are they going to embrace more, the London expansion team someday or the Jaguars? That's kind of, I think we get, Danger, a pay-per-view Super Bowl way ahead of whatever European division.
The precedent that they keep pushing, whether it be playing games in the middle of the week on a Wednesday, what they did to get through the pandemic, all of that is showing everybody that the NFL can pretty much do whatever they want to do. If they want that, then they will do that. and nobody's going to stop them. Just ask John Gruden. I mean, John Gruden, that we didn't even talk about that. The NFL just completely, it's going to arbitration.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Nevada Supreme Court threw out the case and sent it to arbitration. So the NFL will basically determine what to do with the John Gruden case. Gruden's going to fight it, but
they'll write him a check. He'll eventually say yes, and that'll be
the NFL can do whatever they want, and if they want to, down the road, say the Super Bowl is going to be fantastic, as we know it is every year. We're going to have this great artist performing at halftime. And for the first time ever, it's streaming exclusively here, or it's an ESPN plus pay-per-view event. Whatever it is, yes, I could absolutely see the NFL doing it. Hell, we've been talking about their yet-to-be-released schedule for the last 2.5 hours. They have us.
Well, this is according to Thad Brown, because we were talking about how the Jags is going to be a Monday night for the Buffalo Bills in Week 3. That Baltimore game in Week 4, that's on Sunday Night Football, Danger.
It is.
Yeah, so this is Thad Brown saying this. So Week 2 at Miami, Thursday Night Football. Week 3, Jacksonville, home, Monday Night Football. Week 4 at Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. The Houston game, which we all thought, that's going to be in primetime. No, that's just going to be your run-of-the-mill Sunday game. With
4:25, do you think?
I would think. And then Week 6 is the game at the Jets, again, on Monday Night Football.
All right. Good work by Thad there to dig that up. So you'll have 3 straight primetime games for the Buffalo Bills, Week 2, 3, and 4. Thursday, Monday, Sunday. And that gauntlet there between Week 4, 5, and 6. 3 straight road games heading into what we don't know, which is Week 7. We don't know where the New England games lay out. We know that one New England game will be Week 18. There you go.
Bye week could be Week 7 or Week 7, 10, or 12.
Yeah.
I think 10 would feel right.
12 is the one that I think most people would want. After Kansas City, before San Francisco.
No, that can't happen. They don't take buys on Thanksgiving week.
Oh, that's Thanksgiving week?
That's Thanksgiving week.
Is that Thanksgiving week, or is Thanksgiving week the week of San Francisco?
No, 100%. It's that week. Thanksgiving comes really late this year.
So if it's really late, it would be the San Francisco week.
No, San Francisco is week 13, first week of December.
Right, it's December 1st. Right? All right, now I got to look at my calendar.
All right. So did we have one of the weeks off here? We might have.
December 1st is week 13. So is Thanksgiving the Thursday before?
Okay, so the Chiefs game, I'm correct on that. So the Chiefs game is November 17th. We're talking about November 24th. Thanksgiving week, it's the week before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I'm wrong on that.
So week 12 could be a bye week.
Week 12 could be a bye week. Yeah, week 13 is Thanksgiving week. Right. I had that wrong.
The Bills will just wrap up on Sunday Night Football for Thanksgiving weekend, December 1st. So Thanksgiving late this year, not early.
Right.
Got it. Well, I take that week 12 bye. If it is week 12, that makes a lot of sense. You're coming off of a high of whatever, or a low, whatever happens with Kansas City, and you're dusting yourself off for a big matchup against a team that you think will be a Super Bowl contender in San Francisco.
Can we just say, I already know the takes. Wow, congratulations to the Buffalo Bills who being the November champions for beating the Chiefs, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
sure.
blah. Your Binkley takes.
Yeah. That's what we know. And again, everything becomes official tonight at 8 o'clock. A round of shots next, Gino.
Yeah, as we do have a lot of action to get to here. We've got who's the team in the NHL we might be sleeping on out west. We'll explain why the Dallas Stars are doing something really you normally wouldn't do during a playoff run, something strategically their coach is pulling off here with success. We've got the Celtics tonight trying to advance. We've got Caitlin Clark. That was not good last night. Where do we go from here? The baseball action from today. And yes, an NFL true crime story that is going to be coming to Amazon.
We'll get to that. And last call. You can have the final word in the sports bar if you call 866-4326, 585-866 for FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Update.
We know the Buffalo Bills will be opening against the Arizona Cardinals in Week 1. Week 2 at Miami. Monday Night Football for Buffalo at Jacksonville in Week 3. Weeks 4, 5, and 6 will be at Baltimore on Sunday Night Football, at Houston, and then Week 6 at the Jets on Monday Night Football. Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins on what he cares about.
First thing is Christmas and Thanksgiving. I want to know where I'm going to be for Christmas and where I'm going to be for Thanksgiving. Every year, that's the biggest thing.
Well, it won't be playing football, Deion. No Christmas Day football for Buffalo or Thanksgiving. The Christmas Day games, Steelers and Chiefs, and Texans and Ravens. The complete NFL schedule coming out officially at 8 p.m. tonight. Rochester Red Wings taking on Buffalo. James Wood, the outfielder, has reached base safely in his last 20 games. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, The Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
I mean, they're always going to have the ball, and they're going to be able to make plays and do stuff like that. So somebody else needs to make a play. So that's where me or Peyton or D. White or Al, when KP comes back, KP. So everybody just be attentive, be aggressive, and when it's your time, just go out there and be confident.
It's Drew Holiday. We'll talk a little NBA postseason with a round of shots now in the sports bar.
Yeah, do we trust the Celtics to get the job done tonight, Danger? Like, Boston has a chance to move on already to the Eastern Conference Finals. Fun fact about Game 4 in Cleveland for the Celtics, that was the first game Boston has had this playoff run that had a margin of victory or defeat within single digits. Everything else has been double digits one way or another. These have not been nail-biters. That's at 7 p.m. tonight on TNT. Followed by the pivotal Game 5, Dallas and Oklahoma City. That series tied at 2.
That's a sneaky, entertaining series between a young team. Luka's young, but that Dallas team is not going away easily. That's a fun series as well.
Caitlin Clark set a WNBA record in an opening night game. Her 10 turnovers were the most ever in a debut. She did come alive a little in the second half to put in 20 in the blowout loss to Connecticut. Fun fact, for betting for league MVP, Clark has 11 times the amount of bets put on her compared to any other player. At BetMGM, 74.5% of the money for the WNBA MVP is on Clark. Now, in terms of the amount of MVP bets, 68 of them are on Clark. Asia Wilson and Las Vegas Aces, a two-time MVP. She's getting the next at 6%. People do not like money.
Yeah, right. I bet the WNBA. I bet Caitlin Clark last night. I may never bet the WNBA again.
No, your logic on the assist is going in, hey, she's going to try to make her teammates better, but you almost forget, like, wait, how did she end up in Indiana? Because they were the worst team.
That's right.
Like what else? Yeah.
I'm sure that, a couple of those dimes would have come to fruition. Had she not turned over the ball 10 times, it was ugly. And I know it's one game. We don't want to overreact to one game. But against a team like Connecticut, who was good last year, that is, that lets the haters kind of like pat themselves on the back a little bit. There's going to be a little adjustment here.
By the way, I was women's basketball coach Lisa Bluter retiring.
Yes.
Which... kind of smart. Like, it's not going to get any better than that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
The Dallas Stars have a chance to move on in the Western Conference Final tonight. They're up 3-1 on Colorado, which a lot of people are surprised. The addition of former RIT defenseman Chris Tanev at the trade deadline has proved to be arguably the best trade deadline acquisition this season. Dallas is doing something different this postseason, and that's this. While they're dressing 6 defensemen, they're only playing 5. For Tanev, that means an extra 4 to 6 shifts per game. Mikko Heiskanen, I think that's how you say his name, he's leading the way with an average of 27 minutes per game. Danger, I don't see a problem with this as long as you don't go to OT, which this will only happen twice this season for Dallas of 1-1. Dallas, Colorado, 8 o'clock tonight, the only game in the NHL on ESPN.
I kind of like Colorado tonight. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see this series end. They've looked outmatched at times. And they're without their guy either. The guy that went into the substance abuse, the suspension for 6 months. That the NHL, man, they have an issue that they won't address, and their substance abuse policy is kind of a joke, and you really have to screw yourself up before there's any sort of accountability. So now you're one of your best players and a guy that was performing for you this postseason gone for the next 6 months.
By the way, Calvin Pickard, the winning goalie last night for Edmonton, if you didn't stay up for that last night. So Edmonton tying things up with Vancouver. And I think, hey, if you don't have a horse in this race, can we get the Oilers to the final here?
I'm telling you, a Knicks, Celtics, Rangers, Panthers, or Rangers, Bruins. Actually, the Bruins kept it alive last night, too. I mean, how insane would it be if you had the Eastern Conference final in both the NHL and NBA between Boston and New York? I love from afar watching that go down.
What's more likely, the NBA or the NHL? Boston, New York.
I think the NBA. I think the Knicks close them out.
I think the NHL.
You really?
Well,
you think Boston's going to come back?
Dude, if the Rangers lose Game 6 to the Canes.
Yeah.
And neither are shoo-ins, but I think most of us would love that. Finals from baseball today. The Orioles scored 2 in the bottom of the ninth against Jays closer Jordan Romano. Baltimore winning over Toronto 3-2. Detroit left 10 runners on base. They didn't score. 2-0 Miami wins. Pirates got blasted. 10-2 the loss to Milwaukee. Andrew McCutchen with a homer in the loss for Pittsburgh. I think it's going to be his final season. Washington losing again to the White Sox. The White Sox suck. What are they doing?
Well, the White Sox have actually been playing better than 500 ball as of late. Yes, they sucked to start the season. They've come alive a little bit.
Yeah, and fair. Seattle up on Kansas City 2-0. That is in the 5th. It's the Rockies beating up on the Padres 7-0. That's in the 6th. Arizona's up 2-1 on Cincinnati as they head to the 9th. And tonight, the Yankee game taking on the Twins. Be advised that is not on Yes. That's on Amazon Prime. New York sending out Marcus Stroman to the mound against Minnesota's Pablo Lopez.
Okay.
Finally, the tried and true genre in Hollywood today. Of course, it's true crime. Women love true crime.
Just
Danger.
ask the executive producer.
Yes. Yeah, I have to hear about everything. When true crime meets the NFL, you have a hit, though. Right? Amazon is producing this, a true crime documentary.
I know where this is going.
Chronicling the story of a Chiefs fan who turned into a bank robber. This is the story of Chiefsaholic. The documentary is titled Chiefsaholic, A Wolf in Chiefs Clothing. Hey-ho. The story of Xavier Barbadar, a.k.a. Chiefsaholic. Barbadar himself sitting down to be interviewed in the doc. Hopefully they can bring in Binkley for some commentary here. We'd love to see that.
Looking up the lawyer. The lawyer for Chiefsaholic.
Oh, this guy who made him out to be like a hero.
Real life Saul Goodman, the lawyer for Chiefsaholic.
Good morning, everybody. Today was a big day for Xavier Barbadar. From the beginning of this case, folks, the government has been blitzing, and Xavier's pocket was collapsing. But today, Xavier stepped into the pressure. He took responsibility for his actions. He stood up in court, humble and repentant, and admitted what he had done. Now, if I know anything about Xavier, and if the Chiefs Kingdom knows anything about Chiefsaholic,
oh God,
we know that he doesn't give up. We know that if he stumbled and he fell, he didn't let his knee touch the ground.
Oh my gosh, stop.
That's because he's capable of doing a great thing. And he knows that there's still hope. We still have a lot of work to do on his case, but Xavier wants everyone to know that he loves the Chiefs Kingdom, he loves Kansas City, and he hopes that you'll rally to his support.
I mean, how full of yourself are you as a guy, an adult, who dresses up as a wolf to go to football games, to think that an entire fan base has your back for being a bank robber?
Okay, so if Amazon greenlighted this project, Danger, there has to be more than, hey, I'm a bad guy, let's rob the bank. And The way they're going to paint this, I already see this, is he's got a sick mother or there's some other thing. Like, why would you go through all this? There has to be more to the story.
What drove him to rob banks?
Yeah.
Could he just be a bad guy? I'm just going to go with he's a bad guy. Chiefsaholic, not a hero.
Guy. Yeah, you rob banks so you could pay for your extravagant lifestyle to go see the Chiefs on the road.
Yes, not
you dirtball.
Not a hero. Let's not. I'm going to give zero attention to this doc. I'm going to burn. It's like eating celery. I'm going to burn negative calories with this doc.
The worst part of this story, Danger, he's getting a royalty off this, right? If he's sitting down.
Well, I'm sure his lawyer, Saul Goodman, probably worked this out with Amazon.
Yeah, there's it's kind of a victimless crime. You robbed a bank, it's not. So no judge would be like, no, you can't profit off of this.
A wolf in sheep's clothing. Hi-oh! Terrible.
So you're a Bills fan. You're upset at Kansas City. How do we get over on these guys? Blah, blah, blah. We don't have a bank robber as the face of the fan base, right?
No. But I'm not going to go as far as to say that our fan base is the model of all fan bases.
Oh, far from it.
We're exemplary.
But you know what? We own it.
Right.
No, we
own that our behavior is less than exemplary on game days. We own that for sure.
Yeah, there's nobody saying that we're the model. No,
I don't think anybody's out there robbing banks, but we are doing what we do.
No, we donate to charity and we'll drink our face off and do some dumb things. That's about it.
Yeah. Last call is next. You can get in with your final word at 866-4FAN. 585-866-4326 is we'll tell you who's stopping by the sports bar Thursday afternoon next on The Fan.
You're listening to Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We will get an official NFL schedule release tonight at 8 o'clock. Although we feel pretty confident about what we've kind of put together here. We've got just a couple of holes that need to be filled. So it's not a complete schedule for the Buffalo Bills. We don't know when the bye week is as of right now. But we can tell you that Arizona's week 1. We can tell you that there's some primetime games to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
We can tell you that the Bills won't be playing on Thanksgiving or Christmas. Although Thanksgiving weekend will be a primetime game for the Bills on Sunday Night Football, December 1st, as they host the Niners. And what did we say? The Rams was going to be week 10?
Why don't I run down what we know here, Danger?
Okay.
And I think this is, and again, if you've heard this, bear with us, but understand that people haven't heard this all before. Maybe this hasn't sunk in. And if it already sunk in for you, good for you. Week 1 is Arizona, so that is going to be the home opener. You would assume that's going to be 1 p.m. We already knew week 2 down at Miami on Thursday Night Football. More primetime action here. Weeks 3 and 4. Week 3, Monday Night Football at home against Jacksonville. Week 4 at Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. We're into October now. Week 5, continuing on the road at Houston. That's a normal Sunday game. We don't know if that's 1 or 425. Week 6 at the Jets on Monday Night Football. To recap, the Bills on the roads. Week 4, 5, 6 in a row. Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets. Week 7, we don't know. Week 8, that's when the Bills head to Seattle. That's on a Sunday. Week 9, Miami does not come when it's going to be cold and snowy, although you never know.
Early November, you never know.
You never know. Early November, the Dolphins coming in. Week 10, we don't know. Week 11, Chiefs, 425. Week 12 is the week before Thanksgiving. That could be the bye. We don't know. Week 13, the Bills back on Sunday Night Football, taking on San Francisco. That is a home game. Week 14 at the Rams on just a normal Sunday. Week 15, we know the game time for this, at Detroit at 425. Week 16 and 18, we do not know. The Jets is going to be a home game on Week 17. That's because the Jets schedule got leaked out. So what are we missing here?
We do know that Week 18 will be against New England. We just don't know if it's here or there.
Correct. So we got to pencil in the other New England game. We're missing the Titans.
Okay. Titans Week 7?
Yeah, and the Colts we're missing.
Titans, Colts, and the other New England game, along with the bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and then exciting 3-piece preseason games we'll learn tonight, too.
Sure. Well, we didn't fully get the schedule, but I think we did pretty good. Yesterday we were saying, well, we know the schedule by the time we get off the air, for the most part.
So how close were you on your mock schedule? Because I didn't have not a one correct.
I feel like I had a couple. I know I had the Bills. I want to say I had the Bills week 2 Thursday Night Football, but I had it with the Jets and not Miami. And I did have them playing on the holidays. I had the Kansas City game was the Christmas Day game. I remember that.
I had Buffalo at Detroit on Thanksgiving. That's not happening. Even though we don't know who the Lions are playing, we know it can't be the Bills because that's going to be, again, week
13 against San Francisco at home. Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, 15 the Lions. So that'll be in the Lions game. The Thanksgiving Day lineup, in case you like that stuff, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins, Packers on Sunday night. We don't know who the Lions are playing.
Tomorrow, with reaction to the complete Buffalo Bills schedule, you hear him on One Bills Live. Voice of the Buffalo Bills, Chris Brown.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to talk to Brownie. We haven't talked to Brownie since camp. I can't believe that. It's been that long. So we'll also get the thoughts of Nate Geary on this schedule, too, and certainly ask him about the wide receivers as Mike Danger coughing up a lung. You got to get some rest tonight, buddy.
Brian Cozio was fantastic. He joined us last hour. Sal Capaccio, also great. He joined us in the 3 o'clock hour. If you missed either of those conversations, you can hear them now wherever you get your podcasts. Search out the Sports Bar. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and, of course, the free-to-download Odyssey app. And inside the Odyssey app, you can listen to any part of the show you may have missed with Rewind for the next 72 hours. Thanks for watching the Sports Bar, our video stream on our YouTube channel, at The Fan Rochester. Like, subscribe, comment there. You'll always know when we're going live. The same can be said for our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. Enjoy tonight's schedule release. We're back tomorrow at 3 to react to all of it. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
95.7 FM and AM 950.